Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you guys are well, wherever it is that you may be around the world. And we are here to discuss the devastating, horrible performance against Brighton. Brighton 4, Chelsea 1. Chelsea got caught big time. Graham Potter's first loss as a Chelsea manager as well. We're going to discuss the specific lineup. We're going to talk about the players. We'll do the ratings. We'll talk about the manager. We're going to start off talking about N'Golo Kante and Edson Alvarez first. But make sure you guys are smashing the likes, as always, subscribing to the channel as well. And before we move forward, let's cue the intro. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV. I hope you guys are well. GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you guys are all having a pleasant Sunday. Getting over the result against Brighton yesterday. Listen, we all knew that we were going to lose a game eventually. It was just how are we going to lose it, you know? And yesterday's performance, which we're going to talk about a lot more in detail very shortly, was abysmal. Nothing more than short than an abysmal performance from Chelsea yesterday. And as much as we know what these players are capable of and the lack of consistency in their own performances, we should also talk about the lineup, talk about Potter's decision to make certain decisions. So we're going to talk about that and we're going to discuss it. We're going to try and understand how we got to where we was. How did we get to the point of losing in the way that we did there? That's the real big question mark. And then we're going to open up the lines as well. But I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Big up to RD in the house as well. Lee Taylor is here as well. Is there something in the loan clause that if Sakara plays is a penalty to us? It feels like it. Doesn't seem like he favours him or is interested in him as well. He also feels that the 4-3-3 is the way forward. John Doe still in shock from last night as well. Yeah, it wasn't impressive. Maybe if he's around, obviously he's always more than welcome to join at some point as well. I was actually meant to send the link to someone, so let me just do that now. Actually, I'll drop that in there, and then I'll drop. Oh, shall I drop? He's also minerals, and if he's there, we'll give it to him as well. But yeah, what was your guys' overall thoughts on the game yesterday? Where did you think it went wrong? What do you think it was a mixture of? Like, what were the things that you felt didn't work? Big up to Declared in the house as well. Forward Zero says we'll be on in 20 minutes. Big up the community. Big up to Forward. Forward is going to jump in at some point very shortly. Still very early doors. 30 people here. Big up to every single one of you guys. Potter got it wrong again in the match. They got it wrong again in the wrong match. Last matches he got away with it. It was coming. Partly to do with that, maybe the change, maybe the commitment to stick to what worked in Salzburg caught Potter out. Maybe that's part of the issue. Too many changes, too much trust in certain individuals. Does certain personnel deserve to be benched? Are we now starting to see an occurrence of just poor performances from players? Not good enough from players. There's a lot of things that we're going to get into, but before we jump into all of that, big up to Andrew in the house. He says Sterling was shocking. I couldn't even sleep last night. Is what Booster's saying. JCP says Sterling and Pulisic playing as wingbacks was biggest problem. I don't see how we beat Arsenal next week. Maybe you draw at best. Yeah, that's weird because it's the kind of game where I could see us just turning up, playing well and winning, but at the same time, you know, play like we did against Brighton yesterday. We could easily take an L. We could easily take an L if we do not sort it out sooner rather than later. We could really leave ourselves open for one. Potter should stop playing our attackers as wing backs. We're going to talk about that as well. Clearly, insufficient rotation cause us problems. But look, the thing with rotation is that we're gonna rotate. It's something that we're going to do. We have to do because playing 2 games a week on certain players is a lot. There were some things at the beginning when I first saw the team lineup that I disagree with, that I didn't like in terms of choices of personnels and individuals. But at the end of the day, I think there's a point where you have to kind of look at it and say to yourself, right, well, he has to make certain choices in terms of lineup and whatever. It's just how many choices, how many different positions is he going to rotate? And what does it do for the balance? What does it do for the balance of the squad? We're going to talk about that lineup in a second, actually. I'll put that in there to talk about as well. That will be in there. But like I said, I want to talk about N'Golo. I really want to just go quickly into some news. It was such a strange game. Did it look right from minute one? It didn't. The balance was everywhere, and the balance was everywhere. But before we get into that, let's talk about Simon Phillips's comments on N'Golo Kante. He came out today and via Fabrizio Romano comment, and it says, "I'm told there is still nothing advanced between him and any club. He's happy in London. The negotiations with Chelsea are not easy, so he has a serious chances to leave on a free transfer. Losing N'Golo Kante on a free transfer is horrible. If we could get him on a 1-year extension and then sell him on, would favour Chelsea better because then there's some sort of value in selling him. However, I don't know where we stand with him. We know he's having an operation. We know he's out of 4 months. How is he going to return from it? But evidently, when you look at yesterday's game, we kind of miss a fit N'Golo Kante. We kind of miss that, that inform N'Golo Kante in the midfield. Our midfield is just tragic. I'm sorry, it is. It's so inconsistent, lacks a depth. You can't trust the individuals that go into there. Some people yesterday were saying, well, Jorginho didn't play yesterday. Why didn't we play him? That would have changed the game. No, it wouldn't have. It genuinely wouldn't have. I don't think anyway. With N'Golo Kante, it's a hard one. It leaves us in a hard position in terms of what we want to do. What we're going to do or what we want to do with him. At the same time, we want to make a bit of money. We don't want to lose one of our only world-class players in the team for nothing. We've done it too many times with Rudiger and Christensen and others. Don't see the point in doing that. Big up to Robbie in the house as well. Nice to see you. I suggest you people to join Man United. They have 1 + 2 free offers. Leave my club, you plastics. Oh, God. The reason why it looks like that way is because I've lost this cheek. Yeah, but even like Rowan, even Kovacic didn't look confident yesterday. Even in him himself, he didn't look robust or, in terms of the rotate, the link up play, moving forward, breaking the play, being progressive, trying to make things happen out of nothing. Like, we didn't have that. We just looked like we were defeated in the middle. And we're going to talk about it a bit more in a minute, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with N'Golo Kante. There's also a little news on Edson Alvarez as well, who we already know is quite interested in joining Chelsea Football Club. It goes on to say that Chelsea really like Ajax's Edson Alvarez, and they have for some time now. It's a possibility they might try to sign him in January, but not something that is guaranteed yet via Fabrizio Romano. So that, for me, is a comment to say that is up in the air in terms of, Chelsea, what they're looking for, where we're at. However, what I would say as a Chelsea fan, and again, I'm only going to say what I feel in this instance, I think that we should be looking to strengthen not only the wing-back area from Reece James' side, because, we don't know how he's going to come back and whatever, but the midfield is another real key. And if Graham Potter wants to stick with the pivot and not have maybe that one lone sort of command and DM in there, then we need to have numbers, because Ruben Loftus-Cheek, as consistent as he has been this season, hasn't really looked upon it. Kovacic has been in and out of form. We've been told he's carrying a knee injury. Maybe part of the reason why we're suffering. Jorginho is always available. In terms of the injury side of things, you don't really worry too much. But it's what, with Jorginho, you just know what you're going to get from him. Not to say that he's not useful. It's just that I don't feel that, like I keep saying to you guys, that he's the player that we should be relying on to play 38 games a season of the Premier League. I don't think what he brings in terms of ability benefits the team so much to the point where he has to play every game. What he does do is very good, but in certain games, in specific games, in maybe in certain ways of how we want to play things. And then you've got Ruben there. You got Kovacic there. You got Jorginho there. We don't see N'Golo Kante. We ain't going to see N'Golo Kante for the rest of this season because he's out. We'll say 4 months, but he probably won't, be into the swing of things until later in the, later in the season after the World Cup. But it leaves us very thin. And yesterday's game wasn't a good example of it. He's not using Dennis Zakaria. He doesn't want to play the guy for whatever reasons. He says that he is involved and that when his chance comes, he'll give him a chance. But he's the only other out-and-out 6 you have. Conor Gallagher, we already know, cannot play in that position. Mason Mount, we already know, can't play in that position. So, if you're not going to use Zakaria, and you're going to rely on Ruben and Kovacic and Jorginho, then I'm sorry, that's not enough, especially when you're playing 2 games a week, which we will be. And Chelsea have a very challenging group of fixtures. Chelsea have a very challenging group of fixtures before the World Cup arrives. And this could be make or break. We find ourselves in 5th today. Man United go on to win today. And let's bring it up. Let's quickly bring it up. Guys, please make sure that we're smashing the like buttons as always. There's nearly over 100 of you guys here as well. Big up to every single one of you guys that are here at the moment. But in terms of table, let's have a look. You know, our form, which was very good, which was when I last looked, it was 4 wins and 1 loss, has now gone for 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. So in the last 3 games, we've only accumulated 2 points out of 9 points. We find ourselves on 21 points. We still have a game in hand on Newcastle and Spurs, which will bring us closer to them if we can win it, obviously. You know, it will probably bring us up to where Newcastle are on the same level if we win our game in hand. And they're in great form at the moment. But if Man United win their game in hand today, bearing in mind they have 2 on it as well, they could find themselves on the same points as Tottenham, you know. And then you look at what's above, and obviously Arsenal are in a good form at the moment, 1-4, draw 1, 28 points. You know, they've got Nottingham Forest today. I expect them to win that, which means they'll probably be up to 31 points. That's 10 points in front of Chelsea. You know, on the same games in theory. You know, Man City still got games to play as well. On top of all of that, you look at the fixtures and what we have coming up for Chelsea. Dinamo Zagreb, we could already admit that we're probably going to rotate. That's something that we expect to see, right? Not worried about that. He'll probably make a load of changes. We might even see Dennis Zakaria play in that game. Who knows? We might even see him. I think Brower will play. I think he'll utilise it. We don't need, as long as we don't lose, because, I mean, 10 points, I think our goal difference is better. So Milan would have to still score 4 goals or whatever to overtake us. So he will rotate heavily on that. And then we've got the big one. And the game that I am going to as well is Chelsea versus Arsenal. Arsenal are on this amazing form at the moment. You know, probably licking their lips coming to the bridge at the moment in the form that we're in, which is no real form at the moment. But at the same time, we know that we can turn up. We know that we can turn and do our thing. So it's a thing of, right, we've got Arsenal. What could we expect from that Arsenal game? Again, I don't know. I know that if we play like we did, close to the degree of how we played against Salzburg, or let me use a better example, the way that we played against Milan at home. And I'll talk about Milan at home because Milan in that game were very, at the beginning, you know, they gave us a couple of problems here and there, but we dealt with the problems. And when we moved forward and we controlled the game, if we can have a good performance and all the players on the pitch can perform to that certain level, then we have a chance of beating Arsenal. All right. But someone has to beat them eventually. Obviously, they've got Nottingham Forest today and then that. And then we've got Man City away in the Cup. Again, will it be heavy rotation? You may expect it to be heavy rotation. It could be. But again, Graham Potter has to understand, for me, with what he currently has at the moment, the crop of players, the best balance, the best, you know, make your changes, but don't heavily change it. Change it in certain areas where you know you can because you have the squad depth to do it, i.e. your 8s or your wing back in terms of Chilwell and Cucurella. Your defence, with a bit short without Fofana, but you still have Azpilicueta as available to maybe rotate, etc. Koulibaly is coming back, so he should be available, I think, Koulibaly. And if it's not for Zagreb, he should be available for the Arsenal game. So he should be back for the City game. So we will be getting heads back as well, as long as we can keep people from getting injured. And then there's a massive game. This is a huge game. So on the back of playing Man City midweek, we then go away to Newcastle. And that is a huge game for Chelsea because Newcastle in this amazing form. And again, they were great yesterday. They play them very well and they're on top of their game. My point being, the next 2 Premier League games that Chelsea have are Arsenal and Newcastle. And when you look at both of their forms at the moment, they're both on the same run of forms. 4 wins, 1 draw. They've probably got the best form in the league between the 2 of them at the moment. That is our 2 next oppositions. And you look at how we're playing at the moment and how, you know, and how we've been doing things. And, you know, we really have to step up a gear. We need to go up 2-3 gears still. And we're not there at the moment. We haven't been there. Salzburg was a good game, but it was very open. and it allowed and invited pressure. But our next 2 games in the Premier League are Arsenal and Newcastle on the back of that shit performance that we're going to talk about from Brighton. Absolute dire crap performance that we saw from Brighton. So we really need to wake up. We really need to see a response. Big up to Shaq in the house as well. The thing I do blame the players because they're limited. Decision maybe Potter has been wrong, like the time of subs players. I think we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to get to the game in a bit, guys. But my point is, you play Newcastle, and then that's it. So our next 2 Premier League games after losing to Brighton is Arsenal and Newcastle. You win both them games. Obviously, you stop them from moving, which is good for us in terms of Champions League, trying to get a Champions League position. But it also brings us higher up the table, doesn't it, and gets us more involved. Maybe Man City go on to win the next 2-3 games and they open up a gap to everyone else if Arsenal don't do what they need to do today or against us. So this is a big test for Graham Potter. This is a big test for this squad. And yes, he's got Man City and Zagreb where he can rotate, but I'm expecting him to really get it right between Arsenal and Newcastle. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Really, really hard. Big up to John D. We don't have any defence at all. Well, Koulibaly's supposedly coming back, is what we're being told. Reece James, we're going to miss Reece James till next year anyway. So we're going to have to take that on the chin and kind of accept that that's going to be the case. But point being, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy for us. And Graham Potter, and we're going to get into it now. But Graham Potter, he's going to have to get this right, and he's going to have to get the players motivated. He's going to have to get the players up for these next 2 big games that we've got coming up. And we're going to talk about this game now, because yesterday's game, it was hard. It was hard to watch. It was confusing a little bit when I look at the lineup and what we was trying to do, or what Potter was visualizing and how he saw the game. But we got slapped. And why Brighton, I felt done well, played well. I felt that we kind of allowed it. We kind of were the root of our own downfall again. When Chelsea lose games, and how many times have I stressed this on both channels, when we lose games, it is either an accumulation of a couple of things. It's either the performances of certain individuals in their positions are just not there, or the whole team's performance. Yeah. Individual errors in terms of goals scored. 2 own goals yesterday, and the first goal again was our own doing. So you look at how they won it. 3 of them goals were all Chelsea, pretty much gifting them that victory. It wasn't like they blew us off the park and opened us up and whipped it in and bang, great finishing and whatever. It's just a lack of concentration. It was a lack of awareness. A lack of everything. All right, the Ruben Loftus-Cheek one's quite unlucky. The Trevor Chalobah one, he didn't really deserve that, but it happened. Goes in the back of the net. The Thiago Silva one, he makes up for twice, and then obviously gets caught again when Trossard puts it in the back of the net as well. It was hard watching, and then you look at like the defense is not playing well, right? And the one thing we say about Chelsea is that our defense always seems to play at a decent level. Yesterday's game, they didn't do that, but then it was about everyone else around them and how everyone else was performing. And you looked at the forward line and you looked at the midfield. Midfield for me was non-existent. Yeah, they were too far apart. There was no real pathological understanding between them, the defense, and what's in front of them. Kovacic it was like they were individuals. They just wasn't there. Our wing backs, Sterling and Pulisic, why would you even play? The Salzburg game, I get it. We played very well and it worked and it looked all pretty and it was cool. But I even said, I can't see us doing this in the Premier League. The Premier League is a completely different beast. It's a different ball game. Playing this system with them wing backs, I'm not sure from a balance perspective, i.e. in the defensive part, away to Brighton. We know Brighton are going to counter. We know Brighton are going to make things hard. They can do a job. Now, Aspilicueta is not the greatest wing back. but you know that he will give you something out of that, and you can kind of get through it to a degree. You may lose the attacking part of it, but defensively, the balance is a little bit better because there's an understanding there. Raheem Sterling, who was playing on the left, where Chilwell usually plays, who didn't play yesterday because Cucurella was playing as a left centre-back, was asked to play that role again. I don't think Raheem Sterling has been good for a very long time. I don't think Raheem Sterling looks comfortable. I think he's struggling with the balance along with many other players in the system. And I don't think we actually are enjoying the I don't think they're enjoying the football at the moment. And I think the balance is everywhere. And then we get to the forward line. And you know what? As I'm talking about it, let's get into it. Let's talk about the lineup, because this is where we revert back to Graham Potter. So this was our lineup, right? These were the players that he picked. And I thought to myself, okay, 3 at the back. Pretty much everything is the same in terms of setup. But there was 3 big worries to this setup, all right? Number one, we already know that Brighton play good football. They link up well. They transition quickly up the pitch. And it's about us being able to, when we haven't got the ball, defend to a level, right? I looked at the wing-backs. My question marks were there. He took the punt and he went for it. And he went, you know what? I'm going to play offensive. He wants us to be more attacking. He wants us to play more direct. So he thinks by playing Sterling and Pulisic as wing-backs, it gives us that. Which is, granted, it should do. But when you're not controlling the game, when you're not moving the ball quick enough, when players are just not hitting it because they're being asked to do a role that maybe they're just not really comfortable in, they can do it, but they're just not absolutely comfortable in, then you start losing that sort of balance. That was a problem, them two, right? My next big problem in this team lineup was Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz playing as a number 9. So I get you rest Aubameyang, but you still have another out-and-out striker on the pitch, on the bench. Broha is available. Even if you don't want to play Aubameyang, which I'm cool with for rotation, use your other striker. But instead, after seeing Kai Havertz play at Salzburg in a 10 role, where I thought he had a pretty good game, yeah, you ask him to revert to play as a number 9 again, which means that his movement is going to be limited, which means that he's going to have to hold the ball up well. He's going to have to link up play for Gallagher's and Mounts to run off him. The position that he would have played in terms of running off and being direct. Granted, he got his goal, but you made a big decision to not play an out-and-out striker. He decides to throw Kai Havertz up there, which, I don't know, I wasn't happy with. I was displeased with. I didn't like what I see. Yeah, Broha should have played. That was ridiculous. Yeah, so already I'm looking at the balance of the team. I'm looking at the forward line, and I'm thinking to myself, how effective can we be? And granted, we had chances in the game, yeah, but the wing-backs, from a defensive standpoint, because they're not aware, then the understanding of that role as a wing-back is so precise in this system that we even saw it under Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, and it sounds like I'm going really deep with this, but to play that role of a wing-back in this system, you have to be a specific type of player, a player that is able to not only go forward and off of going forward when you're in control, but also understands when he hasn't got the ball, where to find himself in a position so that you never really get caught, that you can always help the right or left centre-backs in terms of any fast breaks. And that's why Reece James looks so good in that wing-back role, because he has the ability to do all. He's a player that I feel is levels of his ability is unbelievable. Ben Chilwell, when he plays there, has the ability to do both. Yeah, he could be a bit annoying going forward sometimes because he doesn't release the ball quick enough, but his overall abilities allow him to play that role well enough. And then you go on the flip side of it. You take James and you take Chilwell out. So they're for me, our starters. You go for Azpilicueta in there. You already know that he can do a job to a degree. He'll get up there, but he can never cross properly. So from the offensive side, you're not effective. But defensively, he'll always try and find himself in the right position, and he'll always get back and make it hard for the opposition to break down them wings. You know, he will work hard, yeah, even though we don't like to see it, but you know what you get. And then you go on the flip side of that, and you go to Pulisic and Sterling. Now, what you're telling me is you want your dribblers on the wings to receive the ball, to be direct and drive, yeah, and then allow the Conor Gallaghers and Havertz and Mounts to find themselves in the box, and hopefully the ball finds them. Didn't do that yesterday. Yeah, they can do it, but they pick and choose when they want to do it. And then on top of that, every time we lost the ball in that game, especially the first half, we were so open on the flanks that the midfield then got stretched. And even they weren't playing well enough in their own roles to then have to worry about what was going on down the sides. But then they find themselves having to cover spaces. Even though Sterling got back a couple of times and Pulisic, it's not the same. And then you look at the defence, who are then having just an odd off day. And they did have an odd off day in Silva and Chalobah, you know. And it's just a recipe completely for disaster. Complete recipe of disaster of the way that we set up and the balance. But what got me more with Graham Potter, and this is why I'm targeting Graham Potter in this instance, is that you went for it. You committed to this lineup, yeah? Up against your old team that you probably know better than any other Premier League team in the Premier League. You've been there. You know it. You know Trossard's abilities. You know where he's going to run from. You know where he can be effective, right? You commit to this team. It doesn't pay off because the idea was for us to control the ball and be quite direct in our attack. You know, pin them back, which is what I think he wanted to try and do. We didn't do that. All right, a couple of individual errors led to goals, but out of not having the ball, we were everywhere, and he left it for 45 minutes. We saw him make decisions very quickly when things weren't working, and in that game yesterday, before we got to 1 to 2 to maybe even 3, he could have made that switch, and he should have made that switch. He left it to the halftime. He allowed the same players to come out and play, but just done a quick tactical switch. So we kind of went into the 4. Yeah. And there was more balance to us. And yes, we created a little bit more and we looked better-ish going forward. Better-ish, I'd say. But then it was the personnel. And you're looking at Pulisic, you're looking at Sterling, you're looking at Mount, you're looking at Gallagher. And they just weren't at it. They just weren't at it. You've got Aubameyang, you've got Broa, you know, you've got players on the bench. You've got players on the bench that can be effective in that moment of this time. But Graham Potter again decides to make decisions too late. And part of the reason why yesterday didn't work was, all right, individual errors with the players, inconsistency. We know these. How many times I've fucking sat here with Johnny and everyone and you lot and said, we know that these players are inconsistent. But to commit to that lineup, yeah, against your old team and it not tick straight away, you go 1-0 down, you go 2-0 down, but then you still sit there and you allow that formation to continue until half-time. And then at half-time, you do a tactical switch without taking a player off, which puts us into a back 4. And then we have a bit more control, which we did in the second half, where we were making more chances. My point being is that he could have seen that, and we've seen him do it with Cucurella taking him off in the first half. He could have seen that a bit earlier. He left it too long. We got punished. And in a way, I'm going to say it, it got left out there to dry a bit for me. It wasn't working. And it was clear it wasn't working. And that's where I point the finger at Potter in this instance. I have no problems with him making mistakes with this squad, with his squad of players, because it's going to happen. I get that. But for me, it's about seeing the response and how you kind of react to maybe things ain't working or maybe trying to change it for the best. And he didn't do that straight away. You know, that frustrated me yesterday. And I had my question marks with this lineup. I wasn't happy with Pulisic and Sterling as wing-backs, and we got exposed massively because they can't defend. I wasn't happy with Kai Havertz being a number 9. He shouldn't have been playing as a number 9. You played him as a 10 against Salzburg and had one of his best games that I've seen in a while. To then ask him to be a focal point and hold the ball up and do the things that he didn't do the game before. And you've got 2 strikers on the bench. On top of that, these are things that he has to, like, you can't keep doing that and then get away with it. He has to kind of go, right, I fucked that. Maybe I shouldn't do that again. this is what we're going to do, and do something different, and stick to maybe playing players in roles that they understand. I know we haven't got the depth at the moment with injuries of Reece James and whatever, but maybe just too many changes for my eyes is what I'm saying. Too many changes for my liking in a big game. Our next two games are Arsenal and Newcastle. They've both got the best form in the league at the moment. 4 wins and 1 draw in their last 5 games. They're both on a good trajectory, and now we're on the back of a Brighton loss, going up against both these players, both of these teams. And he needs to make it work quickly, because we could find ourselves in 6th or 7th if we come out losing them games. Important games this next period. Andrew's put a donation in. Thank you to Andrew. Big up to you. He says, Cucurella looks so nervous, like he's panicking. I think there's question marks over him now. I just don't think he's comfortable playing in that role again. And that's another thing. He had one good game, but then you look at the other games he's played there and he just doesn't look really comfortable there. And I know Koulibaly's not there and we ain't got no choice. He's having to do that again, the gaffer. But, you're asking players to do things they're not maybe comfortable in. Johnny, what are you saying?
How you doing, geezer? Big up,
yeah,
everyone.
I'm not bad. I'm not bad. It's 250 people here. So what do you want to say about yesterday's? I mean, tell me about the lineup when you first saw it. Like, do you get what I'm saying with regards to decision making of this lineup?
Well, I don't. I said it on my show last night. Yeah, I don't get playing Havertz as a false 9 when he balled out as a 10. That's the first thing. You're basically, what I think Potter tried to do is go with how we played in the Champions League with Sterling and Pulisic as wing backs, because it worked. But the fundamental reason why it worked as well was because Georgie was playing, and it's European football. And to translate that over to Premier League football, as you saw, it ain't gonna, or it didn't work. So those were the sort of red flags for me. Again, the midfield is always an issue. We know that. Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek, it just, Loftus-Cheek has had good games, but he's so inconsistent. Kovacic is the only consistent midfielder, and he's our best midfielder that we have right now. So he has to play. And also Cover's carrying a little injury. He doesn't want to have surgery because of the World Cup. So you've got these little issues here, and then the next issue is the centre backs. You have no other options. So you're playing Silva again, you're playing Cucurella, and you're playing Trev, who's been outstanding. But I think it was a game too far for Trev yesterday. And sometimes you need to just I'm not saying rest them, but just bench them, bring them on, 60th minute, whatever. But the problem's the midfield, geezer, and the wing backs. In this system, straight away, you're exposing your back three. And that's what Brighton did. They completely exposed the back three because it was so easy to cut through the midfield because there was no protection of the midfield or the defence with the wing back system.
It's just out of balance.
If you watch, there was no balance. And
it's
the same old story.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you watch the game, we were pressing from the front, right? Which is what we used to do under Tuchel. We used to press relentlessly from the front, and you'd have your 2 wing backs pressing. But with Sterling and Pulisic, they're attack minds. They're not defensive minds. They're offensive players. So you're asking them to basically do a job defensively, which they cannot do. They can do certain elements, but when it comes to the real get stuck in and actually support your midfielding and protect your defence, they ain't got the minerals to do that. And that's where we struggle, because every time we pressed as a unit up front, all Brighton did was get the ball and just play it over the top. And you've cut out that whole frontline press. You've cut out all your wing backs, yeah, and then you got Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek running underwater.
Yeah,
and then what do you expect with Silva and Trev and Cucurella? Like they're completely exposed with pace and trickery coming at them away from ground. It's a recipe for disaster. And I think Potter, he did take the blame. On my show, I didn't realise. But I was like, Tuchel comes out and he says, "This is my fault. I made a mistake. This is on me." And respect to Potter, he actually did that. after the game, because I didn't see the post match conference, but he basically says, I'm not throwing my players in the deep end, because at the end of the day, he set them up like that. And, you know, he has to take the blame for it. But is it justified to come at the gaffer? No, not at all. But where I think there's a difference here now, all right, is that Tuchel knew these issues. Straight away, he knew these issues. Potter's learning these issues. And
I get that. But again, my question mark of it all is, that's fine. Make mistakes. Mistakes is fine, because he's going to do that with this crop of players. He's going to learn the limitations of certain players that can only play in certain ways, and that will come. But when you can see it for 45 minutes, that it's just, and you're getting pounded 1-2, and you can see that it's not working, it's about reaction for me sometimes. Just change things. Don't be scared to pull that player off, or change the formation and push someone a bit into the middle or further out. What do you get? What I mean? Like, it wasn't working for 45 minutes. Like, he could have just gone.
This is another problem, Jim. Yeah, let's have it right. I think he's doing too much to please the players, and at this point, when it's Chelsea, if you're the gaffer and you got a back in a 5-year contract, I think you need to draw the line and say, you know what? I'm not here to please you lot. You're there to please me. And if you do your job and you bring the minerals, then you come on, I'll play you. It's as simple as that. But the problem is, players like Pulisic and what's his name, Sterling's
been stinky for ages.
Sterling's fallen off a cliff. But let's have it right in both of their defense, yeah. Because I'm not really on Pulisic ain't in my best books, but I would say this: they're not wing backs. So you're asking those lot to defend and be defensive minded. That's why Reece James and Chilwell are the right players in the positions, because they know their role. That is their position. Pulisic and Sterling are not wing backs. Let's have it right. They're just not. And I think he went with the Champions League game as a sample, and he thought, you know what, it will work. I can use these lot, because let's have it right. In offensive stages, it can work. It's very good.
Yes,
but it's the defensive phases and transitions that are not good. And that's where we got caught out against Brighton. It just so happened, that against United, we played a similar way. Yeah. We were under the cosh for half an hour and he made the changes. Potter didn't make any changes till the second half, which threw me off a little bit, because I couldn't understand that. But the difference between Brighton and United is that Brighton knew how to take their chances, and they put us in positions where they forced errors, and that's where we lost the game. The 2 own goals killed us.
We gave them 3 goals, didn't we? Let's be serious again.
We gave it to them, and you can't do that in the Premier League. You don't get away with it. If you don't come at 100%, you come at 70, 60, 70%, you're going to get found out, and it will be the lesser sides that find you out as well. It's not just the top 6. It's just that when you play the top 6, you automatically, psychologically up your game. But when it comes to these sort of teams, you can't do that. That's why the Premier League's the best league in the world and the most relentless.
Yeah, you know I agree with what Bex is saying here in terms of playing players in the positions, Sterling being our most clinical attacker, that she feels out of the attackers we have. But again, and this goes back to Potter, I think he's still trying to understand the best system with what he has. You've got my honest opinion. I think there's a way he wants to play and there's a style he wants to play. But I keep saying to people that I don't think he knows that he can do that yet, specifically.
Yeah, but it's not only that. It's also it's a simple fact. Yeah, all the wrongers came out at Tuchel. You're playing this player. You're misprofiling this player. Because he didn't have a choice. Yeah, at the start of the season, he had Kovacic and Kante out after the Spurs game. Well, he had Cover out anyway, and then he lost Kante, and it all went to pot. We lost to Leeds. We lost to all these teams. Yeah, we were poor, right? Because the balance weren't there. He was forced to play Reece James as a right centre-back when he needed him as a wing-back, because he knows he can only play this system because he's got to play Jorginho as well. The problem is with Potter is the squad's thinner, in my opinion, with the injuries, because he's not even got central defenders that he can rotate, that he's forced to play this system. I don't think he can play the back 4, because I think if you play the back 4, you're even more exposed, especially against a team like Brighton. So it was almost like it's the right system to go away from home with, but it was the wrong personnel. And that's not his fault to an extent. It's not his fault. The only thing I'd say to him where I'd question him is, fuck me, play Chilwell. If you're going to play at least one of them wing back, yeah, Pulisic, Sterling.
Yeah, play
The
one
other
that's
one's got to
natural.
be Chilwell.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think you've got to have someone that's naturally, and that's what I said earlier on the show. Play people like play them naturally in their positions. Make your changes, and that's cool. In certain areas we're forced to because of injuries, but in other areas where you do have the strength and availability, play individuals in that position along with certain changes in the team because rotation is going to happen. 2 games a week, we have to do that. I get it, but forward, what are you saying, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, bro, man. I just got back from the gym, so a little bit sore, but yeah, I'm good, brother, man. What about you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I just want to know, like, what were your thoughts like on it all? Yes, like, where did it go wrong? Do you agree it was more like Potter on one side, not making, kind of committing to the lineup, and then obviously not maybe seeing it earlier to maybe switch it back? What do you think it's a mixture of that went wrong yesterday?
I mean, where did it all go wrong? It probably went wrong like 2 or 3 years ago when Marine and a lot of our boards and executives sanctioned the deals for a lot of these players because they're just not good enough for Chelsea Football Club. I mean, that's just the bottom line. But obviously with yesterday, like it's strange with Potter, right? Because nothing from yesterday necessarily changes my outlook on him as our long-term manager, right? In fact, if anything, maybe I've even gained a bit more optimism for what we could be long-term with him because we've seen what a Potter team for 3 years was able to do to a Tuchel team that's been managed for like 2 and a bit years, right? So certainly a good thing to see from what Brighton did, and hopefully Potter can implement that here. But having said that, we can still criticize Potter for yesterday and not be saying that, oh, now we're Potter out, this, that, the other, he's not good enough. No, we can still be objective about what we saw while still saying that, yeah, he deserves time and he needs time because these players still aren't good enough. But despite the players not being good enough, Potter, since he's joined, for me, hasn't really impressed me. And for a lot of his decisions, especially pre-game in terms of his selection and how he set out the team to play, has been very underwhelming. And again, yesterday typifies that more than any other because it was just so naive to go to a Brighton side who we know play good football. Again, that's irrespective of you already managing that side. That takes it even a level up in terms of it being stupid and naive. But we know this is a top footballing side. Yes, they're in a bit of bad form, but they're a good footballing side. Don't get it twisted. So you're trying to play the same tactic that worked against Salzburg, which, okay, fair enough, it worked against Salzburg, but we understand that that's European football, which is a whole different intensity to Premier League football. So you want to play this slow possessions-based football with 2 unnatural wing-backs who are essentially 2 attacking players. So you don't have that natural width that comes from natural wing-backs. And you're playing that with only a 2 in midfield, which I can't for the life of me understand why you want to persist with 2 in midfield, because you're going up against Brighton, you naturally have an extra man in the midfield. And we have 2 midfielders who aren't dominant midfielders. We have to be real. Like, again, I think these are 2 good box-to-box midfielders, but they're not great guys at the base of midfield. And now you're asking them to try and dominate a midfield by themselves. It doesn't really make sense because Ruben, I've always said, is naturally a number 8. He needs to be going box-to-box. Kovacic, his best skills are like ball carrying, progressing the ball forward, not necessarily having like a final ball to him, but just trying to be a bit combative. But you haven't got somebody naturally at the base.
They're not 6s.
Both of them are 8s, and you've got them trying to play as 6s to dominate a game. It doesn't really make sense. And again, I've been saying for the longest, why are we not going with a 3-man midfield? You made the mistake against United with your setup. You called it out. You said you were wrong, fair enough, and you made the early sub. Thank you for that, even though you messed up going into the game. And again, against Brighton, you've messed up again, going in and leaving these players pretty much like a fish out of water because a lot of these players weren't in comfortable positions. They were set up essentially to fail. And again, we know a lot of these players just aren't good enough. So it was really bizarre to me. Again, this football suits a player like Jorginho. So again, it works in the Champions League where it's slower and you're able to play that game. And then Jorginho against Salzburg with $1 million. And for all of the criticisms that we make of the guy, especially in Premier League football, he will look great in European football. But then you're trying to play the style that suits him without him in the Premier League. It just doesn't make any sense. So then, again, we see a lot of these players just fail.
Not only that with Georgie, the problem you got with Georgie is everyone needs to hold his fucking hand in the middle
Yeah,
of the park.
that's what I was going to ask you.
And you have players like Mason Mount who has to basically dig in extra hard. You got players. If you watch the way we play, I think this is why we're getting so many injuries, is that a Kovacic, a Kante, a Mason Mount, or he doesn't get injured, but I'm still putting him in there because he does this role. Loftus-Cheeks, all these players, they have to work extra hard when they play with Jorginho. It's a fact. They have to. because he's got so many deficiencies and capabilities that is then passed on. That burden's passed on to all the other players in the positions around him, and that can also affect the wing back system as well. So this is a problem with Jorginho. Unfortunately for me, if he's going to stay as a squad player, no more than that. But for me, you need a Declan Rice, someone who's durable, someone who's intelligent, someone who's got. What's that?
You need someone that can actually sit on their own.
Yeah.
And, and do the job and allow
someone. Yeah, we need a natural sitter. We need a natural sitter. But the thing is with Jorginho, right? Like, I understand what you're saying. That, like, again, I agree with you that a lot of these players have to do extra workload off the ball to cover up for the fact that physically he's one of the weakest players in the league, not just in terms of physical attributes, but has been able to cover the ground over long distances. He can't run. And I completely agree there. But at the same time, what he brings to us on the ball, and again, in this style of football, which is catered towards his style, which is possession-based, building up from the back, because we're not coming to Brighton just to sit in a low block, like, let's say, a Tottenham do and hit them on a counter. We're trying to play football against them. And that's where you need somebody like a Jorginho to be able to dictate the play. And without him in that team, Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic are naturals at doing that. And what I despise about this system is that players like Mount and Gallagher either haven't got the facilities to drop in and be a third man in midfield and help dictate the play and help us at least control some of the game with possession. They haven't got the ability to do that, nor are they being told by their manager to go and do that either. So those players in games like this are just suffering. And again, in games like this, as much as we may like players like Mount and Gallagher,
you're telling me that Mount doesn't have the ability to go in and dig out the midfield. Did you not watch us against Real Madrid? Did you not watch us? Have you not
how long ago was that, bro? Like, that was so long ago. But I'm thinking, in recent games, when has he been doing that?
Times Mason Mount sacrifices for his teammates, doing other job roles.
But bro, running off the ball
and help out the
running
midfield.
Off the ball is sacrificing, cool, but that's not enough to go and win a midfield battle and control the ball, bro. That's not enough. That is not enough. In those games against Real Madrid, it was Kante and Jorginho that was winning the ball and dominating the midfield. Yes, Mount was running around and putting in a great effort. Yes, that's fantastic.
No, it's
not. But that's not enough to go and control the midfield. He's not jumping in and No, he's not. But you don't see Mount dropping in and actually being alongside Kovacic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek to help control the midfield.
Yesterday, do you know what he did in the second half? He was almost in the left wing back position second half. He was so deep to get involved in the midfield.
Yeah, tracking back. That's tracking back and defending. I'm not criticizing Mount.
Sitting. He was actually
sitting. He's not helping us progress. Mount, players like Mason Mount and Gallagher are not helping us progress the ball forward. If you look at our heat map for the game and their positions over the game, right? You said it earlier. Kai Havertz was playing as the false nine. Then on the heat map, if you look at their positions, Mount was the highest up the field because he's always making runs up behind. And again, I'm not criticizing him for doing that, but that isn't helping us win the midfield battle when we're left on an island with two players who aren't winning the midfield battle. And again, it's got to be either on Potter to tell these guys to drop in and do that, or they need to buck up their ideas and actually have the ability to go and do that. And for me, Mount and Gallagher don't have the ability to do that.
Mate. Yeah, but that's down to the wing backs, not Mount helping out the midfield. That's where you're getting it wrong.
But why is Mount 20 yards up the field, up the pitch higher than everybody else? What does that have to do with the wing backs?
Because they were playing a pressing game in that game.
I think it's a bit of this is again where I think what we both are saying there's got some points to it, but the truth behind all of that is that when the system's unbalanced and players are playing, so maybe to what they're being asked to, like Mount, for example, being asked to play further up because of the press. If the players around him ain't following suit with it, it's very easy to pick us off, and that's my issue. When the balance is not right for me, when players are not pulling their weight in certain positions, and I'm talking about the wing backs as well because they were poo yesterday, and I don't fully blame them because they're not meant to be there. And the midfield, and I've said it, Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic were playing for just for their own yesterday. They weren't playing as a team in the midfield. For me, they were just awful. I didn't like what I saw from them two in midfield. When you were so far between from each other, and there's no chemistry and there's no understanding, and some players are going up there and the others are not following suit and they're dropping deep, and then there's a big gap here, and then the wing backs are not fully understanding the roles because they're not wing backs and they can't play that role, so it looks very, like, this is my point. Balance. It's not about specific of a player. It's about the whole team understanding the system and what they need to do. And when players are not pulling their weight, it doesn't look pretty with Chelsea, and that's what's always happened even under Tuchel. It doesn't work that way.
Look at all these fucking agenda 100%. Merchants, man. You fucking all full of shit, all of you. Listen, let's have it right, yeah. If you got no core, you got no consistency with the team lineup, what consistency are you going to build? Now, none. You ain't going to build no consistency because your team's not consistently being played. Those players are not. There's no chemistry being built up. But when we played Brighton yesterday, the blueprint of Potter ball absolutely battered us like fish and chips. Yeah. That's what he did. We got done. Potter got done by his own blueprint. That's how bad it is, because the players he's got in his team can't play this way. He needs time. He needs patience, which this fan base doesn't want to give. All right, it never has wanted to give it. And the funny thing is, the ones that are all back in Potter now are the ones that all wanted Tuchel out near the end of his reign, yeah. But they weren't prepared to give Tuchel time when he hasn't even had the chance to build his own team. So we have to cut that off, cut it out completely, and say to each other, no, we've got a back Potter here. He needs time. He needs more than just a year, 2 years. He needs an actual serious amount of time. Look at the profile of players that Brighton have. That's Potter's signings. All of those players are Potter's signings with his team, and they all fit the system. They're not all world-class players. They're not all fucking superstars, but they play the system and it works.
But they understand their role.
Potter needs to do with Chelsea, but he can't do that now.
No, but my thing is they've got players that suit what Potter wants to do, and even though they're not the greatest players in the world, the why they work so well is because they all understand their roles off the ball.
They know their roles.
And
they
on
play
the
as
ball.
a team. We don't play as a team.
No, but when you're the manager and you start playing players out of position that ain't comfortable in positions, and you ask them to play like Brighton do, which is what you did up there, and they can't do it, it's because they're not equipped to do so. And that's why I keep saying we are going to lose, win, draw games. Yeah. And it's going to be down to the fact of these crop of players that we do have, because some of them are just not able to adapt to what these managers want. And it's not even just Potter now. It happened with this is what happened yesterday. We saw it with Tuchel. It was the same shit.
But this is the point, right? Everyone was coming at Tuchel's throat, yeah? All start of the season about playing this player there, that player there. And look what Potter's done. He's played, if Tuchel played Sterling and Pulisic as wing-backs, which he's done with Pulisic before, and everyone's screaming blue murder about all the Captain America fans are going mad about it, yeah? But Potter's done it, and no one says fuck all about it, yeah? Oh, because he's just come in the job. But give it a whole season, and we start losing games, more games, and drawing more games, people are going to come onto that, right? But this is the thing. There's not the same energy that you had under Tuchel, under Potter. There ain't no same energy.
Naturally, fans are going to be inconsistent with their opinions. That's just part and parcel of football. But for me, again, I've kept the same energy as always. I wasn't a fan of using these players as wing backs. Personally, I've said for a long time that a lot of these games were losing the midfield. But also, again, let's pack up the midfield. Let's have a three-man midfield, because we saw it against Man United where we played with three at the back. It wasn't working. Went to a three-man midfield, and it was a more competitive game, far more competitive game. So why we're not doing that now is strange. And again, we have to criticize Potter for that now. Again, that doesn't mean that he's not the man going forward long term. But for me, again, we played kind of in the 4. It was a bit of a hybrid 4, but we played with a bit of a 4 against Wolves. And I think that for me is still our best performance under Potter. So why we haven't gone back to Aspilicueta at right back and then have a Chilwell, Cucurella at left back? You play Thiago Silva and Chalobah as the back 4. You ask them just to sit, and then you have Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Kovacic, and Jorginho. Or again, Johnny, you're saying that Mount can play as an 8, and I think his natural position has always been as an 8, even though he's been kind of transformed into being this attacking player in recent years, right? I think for me, play him as an 8, and I thought that suits him better. That suits this team better. Having his legs alongside with Jorginho in that midfield will give us a more natural base. But again, when you're playing just the 2 of Kovacic and Jorginho, Kovacic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek yesterday, it just doesn't work. And again, I don't know why Potter hasn't seen that yet, that doesn't work. And hopefully, losing 4-1, being embarrassed, allows him to see that.
He didn't play Georgie yesterday because he knows how Brighton play. And listen, Georgie, in a moment in transition where you're going from being in the attack to having to go to a defensive phase, and they're very quick, Brighton. They're playing balls across to cut us open and bypass the press in the midfield. Georgie will be running underwater, mate, literally 100 meters underwater, and will be exposed. That means it's almost like you have to have 2 midfielders with him at a minimum. Because he's just not. For me, he's always been a European player. He's a Champions League Cup competition player. He's not a Premier League player. You ain't going to win no Premier League with Jorginho. It's just not going to happen.
I agree. I agree with that. My point is just that even if he doesn't play right, I think he didn't play because he's played a lot of games recently, right? And we know he's quite brittle physically, and ironically, all of our other midfielders have a lot of they have a very vast injury prone record, right? So these guys need to be rotated. But for me, you then have to play Ruben Loftus-Cheek or Kovacic as the base, and then you have the other one as an 8, and you have Mount as an 8, because playing like that with just the two there, and then you have Mount and Gallagher who are so far detached from them ahead of the play, means that we don't have any natural combination between those players. And
I think
if you look at Brighton, Caicedo,
this
McAllister,
ain't
Lallana, there was always
Jorginho.
a
Well, I
combination
want to address
between them.
this. Yeah, this ain't Jorginho slander. This is facts about Jorginho.
Yeah,
If you don't know that about Jorginho, then you're just blinded to it. You know, the geezer's got deficiencies, mate.
But
He's
yeah, you're
got
saying that to me or to
excellent,
people in the?
he's got
No, it's talking to
excellent
the
qualities, yeah.
to the
He's got
comments,
great
yeah.
qualities, but he's also got fucking flaws as well, mate.
We all
That's the
know
way
that.
he
But
is, bruv.
That's
I
clear.
mean,
That's clear.
we all know that there's limitations to Jorginho. It's not like he hasn't got them. Everyone that watches Chelsea knows how effective he can be and how very ineffective he also can be. But what I want to do, guys, I just want to go away from Jorginho. He didn't play yesterday. I want to go back to the game yesterday, and rather than do like a player rating and sit there and say Cucurella, Silva, and go through them individually, I want to kind of break it down into like 3 parts because they didn't play well. Let's be serious. We know that. And I want to kind of like just talk about the defense, then the midfield, and then the forward line. And I just want to see like how you felt it went yesterday. So let's start with the goalie and defense yesterday. Obviously, he went with Cucurella, Silva, Chalobah, and obviously Kepa was in goal. I mean, not much to blame on Kepa for the goals, right? On this one, it was not much he could really do, is there? And on some of these goals,
I mean, I personally thought he got quite rounded easily for the first goal. I think he could have done better to close down the angle on Trossard, but not a glaring error, just something he could have done better. But yeah, other than that, it kind of is what it is. We'll see how long he's injured for, if anything.
And I mean, fair enough. And Johnny, when you look at Thiago Silva's performance yesterday, obviously he had a bit of a dodgy period at the beginning. He made up with it with 2 clearances off the line, shows his class that he is at the moment. But then he has an individual error again, which leads to Trossard's goal with a bad pass. What were your thoughts on him? What do you?
I don't like. Listen, he's world class. There's no disputing that. He's our best central defender. I think he's one of the best in the world still at the age he's at. The thing for me is I don't want you making them clearances by your own mistakes. I want you making those clearances from the opposition causing those issues. For me, this was the first game that I've seen Thiago Silva look very shaky. No, just shaky. He's a player that brings calmness, composure to the back line. He's class, and that filters along the rest who are playing with him at the back and gives calmness to the midfield. And he almost dictates play from the back. Yeah. He's a ball playing centre back. I didn't see any of that yesterday, and I think he knew what he was in for this game. By the way, it started.
His face looking at the line. Can I just say something? Did you see the camera catch Thiago Silva a couple of times in the first half, where every time he won a ball or cleared it or whatever, and it went to, he was looking at the bench like with disgust. It's like he was really pissed off with something. I don't know what it was. But his face,
I think he can see. He can see the way we were set up. Because listen, he's tactically on it as well, mate. You know what I mean? He's a world class player. He's done it all. But I think he struggled. Not to his own fault. It's the way the team was set up. I think the way Potter went about this game was just a weird one for me because you know this team, you know this ground, you know how they play. You've been here for 3-4 years. You know it. You know, it's like you don't expect Brighton to just come and have a stinker. They're going to be fired up, and I didn't see that same energy. And I think Thiago Silva, him looking shaky, him not being the way he plays, even at average level, like you know, if he doesn't have a great game, he's still right up there. It filters across the whole team.
Yeah,
100%. You know, and Cover and Loftus weren't helping him, mate. I mean,
but we're going to come to them, don't worry. We're going to get to the midfield in a second. But I want forward. I ain't going to talk. I mean, Cucurella had another poor game, but I want to go to Chalobah really because like Chalobah's been very consistent this season, and obviously yesterday again he just didn't look up to the, along with everyone else, didn't look up to it. But at the same time, I still don't think he was the route to Chelsea being so bad. I just felt we were just very exposed, and the defense just couldn't handle the quick transitions that Brian threw us. But in terms of Chalobah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he was probably the best of a not even a bad bunch, an atrocious bunch at the back. Like they were so bad. So it is not hard for him to necessarily look like the worst of the bunch. But I think for just him and again that back line, it's just so lightweight looking at that back line. And again, we haven't got a robust midfield. Obviously the wing backs again are players I think who are also attached to this defense, right? And again, I'm not surprised looking at Pulisic getting caught by players running inside of him, and same with Sterling on the other side. And again, I look at that even before the game, thinking that's going to be a massive issue. So of course, what do players like Thiago Silva think? Looking at that, they must be thinking, I'm not getting enough protection here. And again, looking at Chalobah and Cucurella as the wide centre backs, just not good enough, lightweight. And again, even for Cucurella, right? Like we have to talk about it a bit. Obviously, he was signed for a big price tag. Big things were expected of him, especially for me. I think he was actually, ironically, the only player from the summer that I was quite happy and excited for that we signed. And again, not been a great start. And again, I prefer to obviously see like a lot of these players in the 4-3-3 because I think for me, he suits playing as a fullback a lot more than playing as a left centre back or even as a wing back. And again, part of your decision making, it just is very bizarre because somebody like Cucurella, I don't think he has the mentality necessarily, or it just didn't like he was ready to play in that environment where the crowd are going to be on your neck on every touch, every mistake. They're going to be booing, cheering your mistakes on you. I don't know like he was ready for that. And again, it didn't make sense because Chilwell hasn't started in a couple of games. So why not start Chilwell in this game and go to a back four? Again, bizarre that Potter went with these decisions, and obviously individually not a good day for anyone in the back line.
Yeah. I agree. I think Cucurella hasn't had, for me, he's had certain 1 or 2 games where he looked okay there, but other than that, he just doesn't look comfortable there for me. I don't think he's just, I keep saying, I think Chilwell for now should accommodate that area until Koulibaly comes because I just think Chilwell's better defensively.
Yeah, and I agree he's better defensively, but the only thing is that like you have to understand why Cucurella is there and obviously why he was so good there for Potter in Brighton. And it's because he's good at progressing the ball from that left centre back position. And again, naturally having a natural left footer there helps compared to
wouldn't he be better doing that as a wing back? That's what I'm saying. Would you not just switch their roles for a second and play Cucurella as a wing back and play Chilwell as the left centre back?
Well, I think Chilwell actually offers more as a wing back offensively because of the runs he makes in behind. He's again more athletical. He can get up and down a bit better, and again he's more of a goal threat in the final third in terms of actually shooting and whatnot. So
he's a lot more progressive when he gets
progressive with his passing, yes, but not necessarily anything else. Like I thought he was a better dribbler than we've seen, but he's not really been able to like go past players or take the ball forward in that sense. He's good at passing the ball between the lines.
But forget that, it ain't happening. Yeah.
Well, for me, I've been saying for the longest, just play a back four because ultimately a lot of these players suit a back four. Maybe not necessarily Thiago Silva, but I think we can accommodate that with the right midfield balance kind of to accommodate Thiago Silva. Then the fullbacks suit playing fullback.
Yeah, but you see, when you play that back four, bruv, you can't play. Listen, Silva cannot play back four consistently. It's not happening. When you have a back four, your 2 centre backs, you see them go out like that, forwards and out. Yeah, Silva ain't got the legs for that anymore. He just doesn't.
I said that, and the thing is, we even saw that in the first Salzburg game where again, I think we played very well against Salzburg in the first leg at Stamford Bridge. But then he made the mistake for the Okafor goal, right? So I understand that, but at the same time, I'm looking at what's best for the team. No matter what system he plays, there's going to be players who are naturally out of position. But you look at the system we're playing now. I think Cucurella out of position. The wing backs are out of position. I would much rather see Thiago Silva play in a forward and see Sterling and Pulisic play in a back five. For me, it just doesn't make sense. So for me, look, play Thiago Silva in a 4 and just see what we can do. We've done it against United, and I think Thiago Silva looked pretty decent in the 4 against United. So there'll be games where he gets exposed for his lack of pace. Cool. Some others where I think we'll be better off as a team.
Against United, but we looked near the end of the game. We were fucking open like a book, right? This is the problem, and I think the fan base.
I disagree with that. But...
No, well, we conceded a goal, so I do agree with that. My thing is this,
yeah, we conceded a goal from inviting unnecessary pressure. That has nothing to do with being open. If anything, we were too defensive.
But when you play the back 4, bruv, when you play a back 4, your midfield has to be elite. Has to be. Right? Because you ain't got no wing backs cutting in and protecting you. You ain't got that solid back 5. So I
completely disagree with the premise.
1 second, bruv, yeah. 1 second, yeah. With a back 4, you got your fullbacks. Now, depending on how good the fullbacks are, they'll go right forward, but they've got the ability to come back. In our back 4 with an Azpilicueta and a Chilwell, the condition he's in now, offensively, it's not going to be as good for us. Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm not playing a back 4. I wouldn't be asking. Okay, but I've heard you, bro. So like for me, if I'm playing a back 4 again, we all have our different like perspectives on how you would play tactically, right? But for me, if we're playing a back 4, I'm not asking my fullbacks to bomb one, especially if Azpilicueta is one of the fullbacks. Absolutely not. Let me make that abundantly clear. I'll be asking the fullbacks to just play it very simple in your positions, play it safe, and let the attacking outlet come from our number 8 to, again, players like Loftus-Cheek, who I rate highly as a number 8. Mason Mount, who of course you rate very highly, and I think has been probably our best attacker over the last year or so, right? Even though his form has been very questionable, but as a number 8, these guys suit those roles a lot better. And then you have natural wingers in Pulisic. If you want to play, again, people not like Ziyech, but Ziyech naturally is a winger compared to a lot of our other players,
Ziyech,
right?
Bro.
But
you ain't
okay,
Ziyech,
okay,
bro.
you cannot like the players, right? I'm just talking about the profiles of players, and these players suit playing 4-3-3, whether it's 4-2-3-1, whatever. They suit that a lot more than playing a back 5 with Sterling and Pulisic. I think that's abundantly clear.
This is the thing where this is where you're going like everyone else with this narrative. Play the back 4, play the back. Tuchel never played the back 4. Because there's a reason why he doesn't play the back 4. Because he knows he ain't got the squad players to play the back 4. Because Tuchel's actual preferred formation is a 4-2-2-2. That's what Tuchel loves to play. He's
he played that a few times under Tuchel, and it also didn't work at times. At times it did work, at times it didn't work. But the point that I'm making is that we're losing the midfield battle so often. But we're losing the midfield battle so often. So the solution to not losing the midfield battle is packing out the midfield. And if you're going to go against teams like Brighton who have 3-man midfields and getting dominated, it makes sense to then address that by having a 3-man midfield and packing up the midfield and then playing natural fullbacks.
Forward.
Yeah, but you could do that with a back 3, brother, and wing backs, because then you can have just 2 up front. So you had when we played Salzburg, we had Kai Havertz and Aubameyang. So my last point on this is then if you play a back 5, Kovacic, Jorginho. 1 second, bruv. You have Kovacic, Jorginho. So you've got almost 4 midfilders, bruv. Just have Jorginho in that system.
Can I just say something?
I'm not trying to do that. Sorry, Gemma. The one thing I just wanted to say is that I don't want to play a back 5 like you're saying, and then pack up the midfield, because then we only have 2 or 3 attacking players. That's for Chelsea Football Club. We shouldn't be playing like that against anybody. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I'd rather play a back 4 traditional.
The moment you play back 4 with the 3, you ain't and you haven't got those natural attacking wingers, yeah. Because we don't have those players.
But bro, your point was that you can't play a 3 if you haven't got specialist midfielders or elite midfielders. Then if you can't play a 3 with elite midfielders, that's for starters. Then how can you play? Then how can you play a 2 without elite midfielders? That's the whole point.
You have Declan Rice, geezer.
Guys, can I just say
we don't have Declan Rice right now. I'm talking about the short term.
Let me explain you something, right? With Declan Rice, yeah, the reason Chelsea want Declan Rice so much, right, is for this reason. The kid's played centre-back, he's played a 6, and he plays box to box. The thing with Declan Rice is what he does is he unlocks you. He allows you to play within the game a back 4 and a back 3, yeah? Because he has the ability in a back 4 to fall into a centre-back position. He protects that back 4, which allows your fullbacks to go forward, which reverts to a back 3 wing-back system within the game. That's what Declan Rice does. You can't do that, Jorginho, Kovacic, and Loftus-Cheek, Gallagher. You can't do it. It's not even Kante. But that's the beauty of having a Declan Rice. So that's when you properly play a back 4. Right now, you play back 4, you're not going to be consistent. You'll be in the mud, up and down in games. Some games you look good. You'll look good going forward, but in defensive phases, you're going to get caught out. That's why Tuchel played the system he played with the back 3 wing-back system. Plus, on top of that, you want to play a back 4 without Reece James as well. It's suicidal, bro.
Right, I've heard you again. My last thing on this, Jim. My last thing is this, Jim. Is again, I understand. Again, you don't need to preach to me about Declan Rice, because again, that is a player that I'm quite fond of. I would have preferred to many, but he's gone. That's another debate for another day,
Chelsea,
right?
Does he?
But well, I mean, he might have wanted us if we went for him a couple summers ago when we got Saul instead. But again, another story for another day. No, I mean that's a fact, bro. I'm one of them. I'm one of them who wanted to improve Chelsea. I'm one of them. It's a fact that I wanted too many before the club, certainly before the club wanted him, and they decided to go and get Saul for whatever reason, I don't know, because they said too many wasn't ready apparently. Whatever.
Because the club wants to spend the money on Declan Rice. That's why. And they didn't.
Well, sure. I mean, again, I disagree with that notion of waiting 2 summers for any player. I mean, listen, this is Chelsea Football Club, right? We shouldn't be waiting 2 or 3 summers for anybody. We should be addressing the holes that are in the squad.
Does Chelsea Football Club develop players?
Bro, let me finish, right? I let you go on your rants. Cool. Let me finish my point, right?
I'm saying to you, does Chelsea Football Club develop players? Are we there to develop a 21-year-old? No.
They develop certain players like Mason Mount. They don't develop other players.
Mason Mount and Reece James came in at a time where we were transfer ban with no Eden Hazard, and we had Frank Lampard. And they took their chances.
Listen, you're attacking separate points from the original point that I'm trying to make. The original point that I'm trying to make is that we should be playing a 3-man midfield to make up for the deficiencies in this squad. That is the crux of the situation that I'm trying to explain to you, right? Because I don't want to be going into other games with Sterling and Pulisic as wingbacks. It just doesn't make sense. At the same time, I don't want to then be playing a back five and then playing a three-man midfield in front of that, because then we haven't got enough attacking outlets on the pitch. Because we can all agree our attacking players aren't at the ilk to go and carry the team by themselves in the attack of only 2 or 3 of these players. They're not good enough to do that. It's very clear. We haven't got a prime Eden Hazard. We haven't got a Diego Costa, a Drogba. Nobody of that level. It's abundantly clear. So for me, go and play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Pack out the midfield and get back to the basics of what we should be playing. Like, it's as simple as that.
All the attackers are shit, are they?
Okay, so let me go now. Yeah, because I've been listening to the back and forth. So
no, because it's a notion for everyone. All our attackers are shit. When they disregard that, it's the actual problem to our team is not the attackers. Potter's coming and he's having similar issues. So what does that tell you, bruv?
Can I just say something?
I never said all the attackers were shit. That said, all the attackers clearly are not elite attackers. I think that's abundant.
They're not elite attackers, yeah. So our attackers don't go and win us the big trophies like Champions League.
Guys, right, let me go now, please. Let me go.
I mean, what are we talking here?
We're
downplaying our players now?
You think we have you think we have elite attackers? Just yes or no? You think we have elite attackers?
Of course we have. Of course we
have.
Please.
What? What do you mean what?
Just stop.
Wait, Jem, am I bugging, bro? You said we have elite attackers. Where?
We don't have
these elite attackers.
I haven't. Mason Mount, absolutely elite, bruv.
All right, cool. You're a wind up, innit? That's fair enough. Sorry,
I'm not a wind up fella. I'm far from a wind up.
Guys, can I just say one thing, all right? In all of this, we're arguing 4 system, we're arguing 3 system. I get the whole thing. My notion is this, and I've said this all the time. I've gone past looking at formations with this team, because whatever formation we do play, we still see the lack of inconsistency in that formation. The next question then comes with that. Why is it that when we play the 4 or when we play the 3, that we can't seem to build up any sort of consistency? Why do players still struggle to play the specific way that a manager wants them to play? And then it falls down to, and we spoke about this before, a number of things already. Lack of creativity from the deep line, a lack of creativity from specific profile of players in the forward line, and obviously the lack of depth in the quality of our squad that we have at the moment, right? Quality in positions allows your systems to look consistent, but also look good on the eye. If you don't have enough quality, you can have numbers. Numbers is fine, like we have this season. We do have more numbers than what Tuchel had last season in certain positions. But having numbers and then having quality is 2 different things. And that's my problem with us saying, oh, if we just play the 4 and we play with the 3 in the middle, that playing the 3 in the middle forward means that you're asking someone to play as a 6, and then you want to play 2 8s, i.e. a Mount, a Kovacic, a Ruben, and whatever. All right, it gives us more options there in that profile, in that position. But we lack the consistency from that position still for me. Yeah, and so that's not.
Where's the balance when we played Mason Mount?
When we played the 3 game,
and the Serie A games, the AC Milan games, fucking run and ragged, 45-minute man and match all day. Right? It's the way he played. Look at the team setup. Why are we not playing like that, geezer? Why not?
When we played the 3 system, we look better on the eye to a degree, but we in terms of the creative spark of it and the forward line, they all hinder and they all suffer because we don't really build up a decent flow of playing in the 3 system. Again, why? Because we lack creativity from the wings when Reece James is not available and Chilwell, but also the forward line chemistry isn't there. And on top of that, you have a midfield that is inconsistent as hell. So it goes back to the one real big problem, doesn't it? We play a 4, we play the 3, but what is the real big problem with both of these formations? And it's the fucking midfield and the lack of creativity that we actually have available to bring the best out, not only the forward line, but also make the balance and the system look fucking good. And that's the problem we have at the moment. We don't have the correct profile of players to do whatever, the 3 and the 4, whatever we want. At the moment, we're just TikToking through this season, trying to just get the best of what we currently have in their limited ways that they can play because they're limited.
We're another year now with the same problems Tuchel all showed us. Yeah, we're a year down the line. These players are a year older, and we're still in the same fucking position. Yeah, because the ball didn't go in there and listen to Tuchel and back him. Instead, they've gone in at the end of the transfer window, sacked a manager after using his name for pulling power. Yeah, and fucking here we are, and Potter's got the same old situation, bruv. Same old situation.
My point being, I get like we were trying to suss out the best formation, but if the personnel that you have that you need to have all fit throughout the whole season aren't always all fit, and then you're having to accommodate players to play in positions because we haven't got the strength in them positions, it's always going to go downhill because you're asking players to play out of system, and that's what happened yesterday. He took a big risk by playing wing backs in Sterling and Pulisic, and he took an even bigger and another risk in playing Kai Havertz as a 9 and not playing an out-and-out 9 striker as well, which he shouldn't have done in the first place.
He should play Havertz like he did against Salzburg, where he had an Aubameyang or a Broha. I think Aubameyang, he's got a better link up, to be honest. Yeah, and you have Kai Havertz roaming, you have Mason Mount roaming together, and then you build that everyone around those two players because they're the two fucking gems of this club. Yeah, that's how you do it. I don't understand why you don't do it, bruv. How do you expect to get the best out of the players that you're most fucking elite fucking creative players, bro? Clutch players.
Well, you need
where are you gonna? You're not getting that from Pulisic. Players. You're not getting that from Ziyech. You're not getting that from Sterling at the minute. And I've been told Sterling's our best fucking attacker when he's not. And you're not getting that. You're not going to feed Aubameyang. So where are you? Where are you going? You ain't getting creativity from Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho, and Loftus-Cheek. You ain't getting creativity from fucking wing backs in Pulisic.
We haven't got it. That's what I'm saying. We don't have creativity.
Listen, we're also not getting creativity. But the thing is, we're also not getting creativity from these. Again, I'm doing air quotes here. These apparently elite attackers in Havertz and Mason Mount. And listen, Mason Mount, I'll leave to a side because I actually do like him, and I think while he's not been great, I think he's still absolutely the best of a bad bunch in terms of our attacking players. But to talk about getting creativity from players like Kai Havertz, I'm sorry, but he's not shown that in 2 and a bit years he's been here. Like, I'm sorry, this guy was
don't say that. Don't say
generational talent.
So you have an agenda. Don't say that. Don't say
Lewis,
that.
No,
I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that because I have an agenda. But
it was all Havertz's fault that we lost 4-1. It was all completely his fault.
Oh, I'm not putting that on Kai Havertz.
No. I'm saying the piss. Everybody played like dog shit, but is what it is. Is what it is.
But you hear what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to make is that listen, these attackers are not elite. They're not elite. Let's not sugarcoat it and put it all on the midfield. It's not. It's a There's a collective issue with the whole squad, and that's why for me, I could have seen results yesterday or last season and a lot of other people because I know the level.
What wins you titles, mate? Yeah, what wins you titles and wins you the big games, the big trophies, is the midfield. If you don't have a midfield with a spine, you ain't winning Premier League titles.
Yeah, but our defense
what wins you titles is having a complete team, and we don't have a complete team. That's the facts of the matter. We don't have a complete team. We've been poorly built for many years.
We're in a rebuild, mate. It's called a rebuild. Yeah. All these fans think that we're going to go under Potter and all of a sudden we're going to play beautiful football and he's going to transform like Tuchel did with us winning Champions League. It don't work like that. Football don't work like that.
But bro, right now you're projecting, bro, because I've never said anything.
You've got players from 5 previous managers in this squad still. Think about that.
I agree with that.
Think about that.
Yeah, but what you're saying, I agree with you there. But again, you're just projected onto me right now because everything you're saying that I agree with, and I've said for many years, I've said that the squad planning with this team has been poor. Yeah. I mean, look, the squad planning.
The midfield was the only reason
has been poor for many years.
The whole team.
No, this is what brings me on to the next part, and I want to talk about the midfield now because we spoke about the defense of yesterday. We're not doing ratings. We're just talking about specific parts of the setup. I want to move to the midfield and yesterday's performance specifically, Lewis. What went wrong? What was going on with the midfield?
So what went right, bro?
Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic are the two I want to talk about, not the wing backs yet. We'll talk about the wing backs later.
Yeah, bro. The midfield was just so directionless. Barely any ball retention. Could barely even make 2-3 passages of play.
I agree.
I was struggle for words with them. Loftus-Cheek was lethargic as fuck. Mateo Kovacic was actually pressable for the first time in ages. I can't even believe I was saying that, but they were targeting him and he couldn't deal with the press. Gallagher, I thought, was probably the best of a bad bunch in terms of that midfield. Like, he brought energy. He was at least sticking a leg out, trying to get tackles here and there, but he wasn't really as good as anybody else.
So terrible. Why was it so bad yesterday? What was it you felt?
No control. No control. Like, I don't know if it has an impact on the result in general because the whole team was poor. But I will say it. If we had Jorginho, we would have had better possession and we would have retained the ball a lot more. Say what you want, but it's the same thing as the Aston Villa game. Zero control in the midfield.
Yeah, okay. Having Jorginho in the game yesterday, does it change the performance for you?
Not the result, I think we play a bit better in possession as a result of that. But I don't think it means we go from 4-1 to 2-0 Chelsea or anything. We lose in general. But I think we have a bit more control in the midfield if Jorginho's in there.
Okay. No, I ain't going to argue
I
that.
think we get hammered even more if he's in there.
And why is that? Why would we play worse?
I think his lack of off the ball recovery will kill us, and it will kill our back three. The way
we were dead
playing.
in that regard anyway, though.
Yeah, but you've been even worse.
Any worse than that?
Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic are faster than Georgie, aren't they?
How would
They're both faster.
How would we be any worse when we were already bad enough?
Yeah, but I'm saying it would have been a worse scoreline. That's what.
No, it wouldn't have. That's your Jorginho agenda coming out.
There's no Jorginho agenda. I'm just saying that he would be.
Agenda, bruv.
It's not, bruv. It's not. Listen, at the end of the day, if the gaffer felt that it was a game for him, he would have played him, bruv. He didn't play him.
True. He obviously listen.
I think he bring him on.
I think he played Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek.
Right move, but we move.
Wait, he played them two for one real thing.
It was a tactical decision, Lewis.
No,
yeah, it was a brilliant tactical decision. That was.
He weren't right for the game, bruv. He weren't right.
But it's probably because he started the last 3 games. I don't think it's because Jorginho shit.
No. I think he started them two in this game because and why he played the wing backs with these two is because he did expect an element of control from us. Maybe he felt Brighton would have sat and it would have been, down to us to have broken down a bit and whatever. They didn't end up doing that.
When do they ever do that?
But my point being is that in terms of the reason of playing the two of them was because I think what he wanted for them to do was not only control their game, but also being more progressive. And both of them can be progressive with the ball, which then allows your wing backs to be more effective because there's space for them to run in and stuff. But we didn't get that yesterday from Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek. None of them picked the ball up, took the ball up the pitch, and then opened up the space in the midfield to allow the forwards to run into pocket spaces. Didn't do that yesterday. And that's where the midfield from the offensive part didn't work because they were lost. It didn't work for me. That's why I felt he played both of them because they're both progressive and they look forward and they try and break teams, break the line.
You need a sitter at least between that or someone who can just keep possession going. And we didn't have that. All we did was just keep turning it over.
That's why I say you have a 3-man midfield because Kovacic and Robin Loftus-Cheek excel in bringing the ball forward, but at least have somebody behind them to do that. And the only person that can do that right now is Jorginho. So you play a 3-man midfield. We saw against United, it worked better than what we played before. So play a 3-man midfield.
Forward, do you see why I always say, like, when I want midfields, I want Jorginho because you need someone to sit and you need someone to
hold his hand.
Again, your stinky Jorginho agenda.
But it's a fact, geezer. We need like 2 midfielders with him.
No, because if 2 people, if you have a midfield full of roamers, who's sitting back?
Yeah, but my point...
You have to have him sitting, but I'm saying they have to work very hard to have Jorginho.
Yeah, but they're holding his hand, aren't they? Yeah, it's just...
How many times has Jorginho started games and we've still been shit? This is my thing. So you're arguing for Jorginho to be in...
I don't really care about Jorginho. He didn't play, so, I don't know why we're even fucking talking about him.
I think...
If certain others didn't play, we'd still be talking about him, but we move.
Well, John, let me just have my say on the midfield. And listen, I do agree in many parts of what we guys are saying that the midfield wasn't great at all. And again, these guys are naturally 8s, so playing them as a 2 with no one behind them to sit, it just doesn't make sense. Which is why for me, I'm crying out to play a 3-man midfield. Again, we actually even saw for the goal that we scored, Ruben Loftus-Cheek driving the ball forward, attracts 2 players, cuts it back to Gallagher, who then has the space, and then play the cross into Havertz. He scores, cool, we score a goal, great. All right, but that's Ruben Loftus-Cheek at his best. And by the way, he was terrible yesterday. Let me make that clear. He was terrible. But at least that's him doing what he does best. If you have somebody sitting behind him along with Kovacic, then it's a natural balance to the midfield. And why we're not doing that, it doesn't make sense. And obviously, I understand that we have limited options right now. Kante's injured. Zakaria doesn't exist clearly because he doesn't get any minutes even in a game like this. Right, dead rubber. At least bring him on just so he's a little bit comfortable with the team. Nope, he doesn't get minutes. Fair enough. But listen, I've been saying for the longest, and I'm going to keep on saying it until we actually go and do it. Play a 3-man midfield because we're losing the midfield battle. Other than Jorginho, we don't have anybody else who has the ability to control the midfield. And I understand Johnny, right? I understand Jorginho as an athlete is terrible, right? But there's more to football than just being an athlete, right? There's more to football than just running around and putting in tackles, putting in the hard yards in, getting your socks dirty and all this nonsense, right? Cool. Run around and be tough. But at the same time, let's have players who are actually ball players and can be able to actually dominate a midfield by just having the ball and be able to pick passes. Jorginho is somebody that can do that.
Yeah, but he's also, and let's just switch it now, because as much as I agree
In
with
terms
parts
of
what you're
running,
saying,
Jorginho covers some of the most distance per
Yeah,
game.
but
But again,
there's
let's not talk about it.
pros and cons here. Let's be serious. He can get hassles off the ball very easily. He can't recover once he's beaten because he hasn't got the speed to recover on break. So in terms of quick transitions from opposition teams, we still suffer in the midfield because we haven't got an actual DM with the with the like the physicality to be in that role.
Yeah.
While I agree that
Yeah.
he controls the game and he does, can do certain things, it goes back to one big thing again, doesn't it? We have to accommodate him to get the best out of him, which means we've got to then sacrifice some other players for it to work.
But then
Well,
when
but
we
again, because again,
listen.
you do
We've
that
had
like
Mikel,
Rodri,
hold on a minute. We've had Mikel,
do
we've
that
had
for them as well.
Ballack, we've had Lampards, we've had fucking midfields like
We have
that,
to do that.
Fabregases and all that, and now we're resorting, and we're all trying to justify having Jorginho, Kovacic, Loftus-Cheek. It's a fucking
No.
Wait, can you
embarrassment,
name
bro.
those midfielders again?
They're nowhere near
Can you
those
name
levels.
those DMs, please? Rename all those DMs for me. I
Mikel,
didn't quite
bruv.
get- All of them.
Mikel.
All of them.
What
What
do
do
you
you
mean,
mean,
all of them? We've had
Mikel,
Makelele,
Mikel,
Mikel,
Matic, all of them.
Essien.
All right, we'll add
Matic,
Jorginho's.
absolutely fucking class.
All right, we'll add all of those DMs that played for Chelsea. Now, add Jorginho's name and tell me which one of them's won UEFA Player of the Year.
You're such a cunt.
Yeah,
Anyway,
let's not do that.
You're here to have a bubble,
Let's
man.
not do that, bro.
You're here to have a
Why
bubble,
do you
bro.
do-
Honestly,
Anyway,
having a
super
bubble.
chat.
But listen,
from
look,
Logan.
listen, just to Johnny's point, right? Johnny mentioned all those
Jorginho's
great.
name deserves to be next.
Guys,
to
let me
all
read the
of
chat.
those, and it is
Let me
what
read-
it is.
Let me read the super chat. 2 seconds.
Listen,
No one
Fucking hell,
says,
Lewis. You pulled
let's
that
have it
one out.
right. It was
Yeah, because
coming.
you ain't got a response to
Guys,
that, bro. That's why.
Lewis,
What do you want me to say?
Guys.
Well done. Fantastic round of
Respect,
applause.
bruv.
European Player of the Year.
Respect.
Well done.
guys,
Great.
let me
What a
read the super
trophy.
chat.
What
Let me
a
read the super
trophy.
chat.
man.
2 seconds. Johnny,
What a
Lewis, 1
trophy.
second.
Bro, all these players are
Let's
shit,
have
man.
it
I don't know how anybody rates or like
Our
tries to
only
rep any of
Chelsea
them, but
player
they're
in
all
history.
shit.
Guys,
by the
man,
way.
let me read the fucking super chat, and then you can carry on
My
after. 2 seconds. Let's have it right. It was coming at Chris. Is that Christian Pulisic? At Christian
Palace.
Pulisic.
Crystal
Crystal
Palace.
Palace. Gallagher saved us. Aston Villa made 2 mistakes. Man U opened us and Brighton just buried us. New manager bounce? Question mark is what he's saying there.
Well, he's right in everything. I don't know about the new manager bounce. I don't even think this is a manager bounce. Like with Tuchel, you could say that a little bit, you know.
It's not my
But-
show anymore.
I think he's right. He's right there. He's absolutely right, mate. We got away with it. We listen. If we won against Man United, you say they didn't deserve to lose. That was a draw. That was a draw written all over it. And the only way we were trying to win or draw that game was a penalty. Or a wonder goal.
Yeah.
That was
Do
it.
you know what? I'm not even going to. We've spoke about the wing backs, but is it really point sitting and discussing players that shouldn't be playing in them roles? Let's be serious. We knew it don't work.
But
I'll-
going to the next game, Jem, he's
Yeah.
got to play Chilwell there, left-sided, left wing back. He's got to play.
Mm.
If you're going to play wing back, you've got to play Chilwell. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you play one of the other, Sterling or
The
Pulisic.
right side. Let's have it right. We're playing Arsenal. So fucking hell. Again, at Arsenal, this is a must-win game. Yeah, absolute must-win game. There's
We
no
can't lose
fucking
to them.
around at
There's no
Arsenal,
running
bruv.
around. I'm
If
not
you ain't
involved.
going to bring up your
Disaster
minerals to
class,
go and beat Arsenal, then what's the fucking point? Don't even turn up. Don't even turn up. Forfeit the game.
No, we
I'm on
can't
to
lose.
anyone who drops a disaster class next week. Anybody, I
can't
don't give a
lose.
fuck.
That's the one game we have to win. I can't have Arsenal.
I don't care if it's Jorginho,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Havertz, Mount, Sterling. Anyone drops a disaster class.
But let's go to the attack then, because Havertz, Mount, who else was it? Conor Gallagher, and then you can throw the wing backs in because in theory, the way he
They're all
played
shit.
them to be attackive, and they weren't that yesterday. What happened yesterday? Was it like again? It's just a lack of creativity. Was they weren't able to get involved in the team? Was it the
I didn't have
chemistry
a problem
again?
with the attack.
What was wrong
I
with
had
them?
the problem
Oh
with
my
how we
god.
built-
imagine
is
my
how we
shock.
built. No.
Imagine
Listen, you
my
two little
shock.
trolls, yeah. You can humble yourselves a minute, yeah. Let's understand something, all right? The attack, all right.
I do
Like
wanna
the
understand
whole
this.
period under Tuchel, everyone was blaming our attackers are shit. Our attackers are shit. We're now under Potter, and they're all going, our attackers are shit. They're all shit. You can't just
'Cause they're
say
shit.
all these attackers are shit, bruv.
That's
It
true.
You
doesn't
can,
work.
because
There
they're
is
showing it
there
under
is a
different
problem.
managers.
They're shit.
They're showing it
No,
under
it's a
different managers.
problem
They're
with
Three
shit.
different
No,
managers,
no,
and
it's
the
the
attack
problem with
still
the team,
reeks.
bruv. It's
So
the
should have
problem with
Kai
the
Havertz
team.
played as a number 9? Should Kai Havertz played as a number 9 after his performance against?
He's a
Salzburg?
number 10.
I don't know how. I don't know why Aubameyang got dropped, but we're not going to do this. He's a
Right,
number
bro,
10
are playing, bro.
No,
With
because
Havertz-
Havertz came out and said when he's in the box, he's there to score goals and he can play
What's
as a
he
number
gonna say,
9.
bro?
And
Not
What's
as
he
a
going to
number
limit
9.
himself and say, I'm only a number 10?
Let's not do
And then
that.
the
No,
gaffer
he's a
don't
9
play
as
him.
well as a 10. Don't do
He's
it.
versatile, bruv. He scored yesterday. What the fuck, bruv?
Yeah, and he was
Did
still
I
shit, just like everyone else was.
What? He
played
scored.
this-
Did you see him? Did you see him recover Kovacic's fuck up in the middle of the park? And the one that anticipated it was Kai Havertz and went.
Bro, it's not a bleep test, bro. We rate guys on actually doing something with the ball. Just because he ran a bit, I don't really care.
All right. So you rate players doing stuff on the ball, but you fuck off what's off the ball. That tells me all about your ball knowledge.
Yeah, and
I don't do both. I'm just saying that it needs to be a combination of both. It needs to be a combination
It's not
of
even
both.
just him.
It
No.
needs to be a
Here's the
combination
thing.
of both.
We won't
You just
turn
played him in the position they did against Salzburg. End
we
of.
won't-
What are we arguing about?
Bruv.
No, because he said he could play as a 9, as a 10.
No,
but
don't
that's
do
not
that.
the point.
I've been saying that he
that
should
came
be
out of
playing
his
in that
mouth.
position.
That came out of his mouth. So I will
Oh,
do
right,
that.
okay.
And the thing is as well, it's not just Havertz. We won't just stick on him. Mount was crap. Sterling was crap.
Yep.
Mount
Gallagher
was
was
not
crap.
crap, bruv.
Oh, of
I don't
course
know
he
where you're
wasn't.
going with
Of
this,
course he
Lewis.
wasn't,
It's all
Johnny.
your
Mount wasn't
agendas,
great.
bruv.
He wasn't
It's
great.
all your
though,
agendas.
Mount.
Mount
He
was
wasn't.
I don't
terrible.
like
He
this
was
shit, bruv.
terrible.
Yeah.
The only
Johnny,
time
you
I
must
see
not
him
rate
popping
Mount
in
highly.
your game,
You must
Mount
not
does
rate
the
Mount highly if you
easiest
think that's
chance-
acceptable.
The easiest chance to Havertz in the first half. That's the only time I noticed him was when he fucked up an easy pass to Havertz.
Right, so we're gonna pinpoint one fucking pass in the whole
That was
game
a
or
bad
the
That's
whole
the
pass.
only
career,
thing
yeah?
I remembered Mount doing. Other than that, he was invisible.
Yeah. You don't remember anything else. You don't watch him, bruv. You don't even
Really,
know what he offers.
ask the comment section again. Look at the comment
I
section.
don't give
What
a
are they
fuck
saying
about your brown
Mount?
envelopes, bruv.
Guys in
My
the
thing
comment
is this,
section,
yeah?
what was your thoughts
my
on
thing is
Mason
this,
Mount's
bruv,
performance?
yeah? I heard you, Lewis, yeah? I heard you, bruv. And I heard how you react to shit, bruv. And it's very poor, mate. Yeah, but I learned something about it yesterday. I learned that you actually do not know about Mason Mount. You don't understand him. That's what I learned.
Wait. Everyone in the comment section, do they not understand Mason Mount either?
No, they don't get it,
Maybe
bruv.
you're the
That's
odd one
I
out,
did
Johnny.
well.
Maybe you're the odd one out,
I did well.
my friend.
No,
Maybe
bruv.
you don't
I've just
understand
sent- I've
Mason
sent
Mount
you a
because
message there.
everybody
That's
else
all
seems
I'm
to be
saying, bruv.
able to. Everyone
That's all
else
I'm
can,
saying.
but you can't.
If it's
Everyone
not,
else can
listen,
see
you
what you can't.
like all the others.
Maybe
you're
you're
one of
the
these.
problem,
if it's
bro.
not GA, bruv, if it's not GA, I don't know what he does.
What does he do? What
There
does he
you
do?
go. That tells me everything I need to know, bruv.
This is the
That tells
third
me everything
game in
I
a
need to know, 'cause
row
football's
where
not just
Mount was
about GA.
invisible. Mount was
It's not just about
invisible.
GA.
Well,
His
maybe.
Crows
Okay,
getting
maybe
G&A, but because he doesn't get G&A, oh, he fucking...
Why did we have our most creative game when Mason Mount wasn't on the pitch?
What do you mean, why? Why did we have our most creative game?
Yo, Jim, when you want me to comment, bro, let me know.
It's a dagger, mate. I'm just forward. You want to
The
talk?
whole
mate?
comment section don't understand Mason Mount apparently, but we.
You don't... No, I don't care about the comments. I'm
let's
thinking
ask
you
forward.
don't.
The majority of people don't understand Mount. It's just you. You understand.
No,
Mason
you
Mount.
don't. You don't get it. But all the
Yeah, no,
managers
you
get it.
understand Mount and nobody else does. Fair enough.
Potter, Tuchel, Lampard, Vitesse manager, everyone gets it, but you don't.
And nobody
I mean,
else.
Am I
does.
going to go with people in the game, or am I going to
It's
go
Mount-
with
it's-
you guys?
it's-
I'm
it's
going to go
Mount-
with
it's
people in the
Mount-
game.
You're acting like I criticized Mount last season as well, so I don't even
Guys,
know
it's
why
now
you're bringing
really
the
the
problem.
Listen,
into it.
Lewis,
I'm
I don't
talking
give a
about
shit
now.
about your criticism, mate.
I'm talking about
it's
now.
nothing on me,
Of
mate.
course, you don't
Because
care about
the
anyone's
fans get it.
criticism
The
about
ones that
Mount because it
understand
goes
get it.
in one
You
ear
don't get
and
it.
out
You
the
don't
other with you.
understand what
It's
he
as simple
brings
as
to
that.
this team.
Why do we do
Don't
this?
get it.
He
Why do we
doesn't bring
do this?
anything.
Lewis,
There
why?
you go. That's my
Just leave
point.
it. Just leave it.
That's how I
What has he
know.
done the last 3 games?
That's how I know. What's he done for the last 3 years? Yeah. Oh my
No,
word.
3
games.
games,
You're a long
not
way
3
from Sparta.
years. 3 games.
Let me ask
Don't
one
change
thing.
the
Lewis, I
goalpost.
know what your thoughts are. Let me
Yeah.
ask forwards because he's sitting forward. Mason Mount. Come on.
All right,
Don't
so
bring this geezer. I like this
I need
geezer.
to
Don't
hear what
even
he's
think
got
he's
to say.
elite,
Yeah,
bro.
Yo,
Don't
Don't
bring
bring
him
this
in,
geezer
Johnny,
into it.
Johnny, don't cut me off, bro. Don't cut me off. All right, listen,
Yeah, let
right?
him
So
talk.
I
with
just
Mason
did.
Mount,
Any-
I'm
Go on,
somebody
speak
who
it.
understands. Don't, brother, don't cut me. I don't know you like that. Don't cut me off, right? All right,
I
cool.
don't know you
Mason
like
Mount,
that.
I know his game, right? So I've seen him have good
Yeah,
games without having GA, like Johnny was mentioning earlier, like the 45 minutes against AC Milan where he got man of the match. He had a great game, even though he didn't get GA. I know what a good Mason Mount performance looks like. Now, for Johnny, it's funny because I would consider you like a stand of Mason Mount, but the more I listen
Don't
to you,
call
the
me
more
a
I think
stan,
that
bruv.
maybe don't cut
Don't
me off.
call me a stan.
The more I
I just
listen to
did.
you and
Don't
people
fucking
like
call me
you,
a stan, bruv.
the-
Don't call me a
the
You
more
stan.
I
are a
listen to
stan.
people like you, the more
I'm
people
not a
listen to people like
stan,
you, the
bruv.
more I
back
consider.
a player that
Let
gets
him
the most
finish. Let him
hate. If
finish.
you've
Let
got
him
a
finish.
problem with
Let him
that,
finish.
then that's your issue. But
Yeah.
don't call me Stan, bruv.
All right,
I ain't
You
no
called
Geordie
me a
version, bruv.
Stan last week, and you're bitching about being called
But
a
you
Stan.
are.
Like,
You're a
what the fuck?
Georgie Stan.
Yeah, and you're a Mount
you do
Stan.
everything
You're
for
a
Yeah,
Mount
Georgie.
fine. This
Stan.
Mount Stan,
You're
you're
a
a
Mountain
Georgie fan. You're a
Habit
Havertz
Stan.
hater. He's a Mount lover. Fuck it. 1 second
I
forward.
don't. I'm
What
a
are you saying?
Chelsea Stan. I'm a Chelsea
You're a Mount
Stan. I'm not a
Forward.
fucking
What are you
Mount
saying?
Stan.
Forward.
Cool.
Forward.
So for people that like Mount a lot, right, or are stands as we call them, right? It seems like maybe you don't have the highest standards of Mount, because if you think that performance yesterday was acceptable for Mason Mount, then clearly you don't. Clearly the bar is in hell, because that was not good enough for Mason Mount.
Well,
What we consider
maybe
is
the
meant to
gaffer
be.
thought is acceptable to play him for 90 minutes. How about that?
Well, this is also the point, right? So I can also accept that Mason Mount for the last 18 months, right, has probably been our best attacking player. I think he's been better than the rest. That doesn't now mean he's been that's good enough for Chelsea standard, because
maybe better.
let me finish,
Let
bro.
him
Let me fucking
finish,
finish,
bruv.
bro.
Let him
Relax,
finish.
bro.
He's so
Fucking hell.
underplayed, bruv. Like a player that's
Nobody
playing
can
out
talk
of
about his golden
position,
boy Mount without having
has
to
got
butt him, bro.
29
Like,
GA, and he's maybe been our best player
Do you
in the
see
front
why I
line. He's
said you're
fucking
insecure
Let him,
about
let
Mount,
him
bro?
finish.
You
Lewis,
see why I
let-
called you
Don't
insecure
say
about Mount?
insecurity, bruv. Like you're insecure
No,
about
it is. You
Jorginho,
can't
bruv.
let
Guys,
anybody
it's football,
criticize
man. Relax.
Mount.
It's a player. Just leave it. Right, what are you saying for him?
game of
Go.
opinions, and people don't want to hear it. But anyways, listen, with Mount, like I said, he's
This is why I
probably been our
don't do
best
this
attacking
shit,
player for the
Jem.
last
I go on
18
my own
months.
channel, bruv. I don't need to
I
hear
get
all this
that.
waffle,
But you
bruv.
know, Lewis.
Yeah, because it's an
it's
echo
not like
chamber
Lewis.
over there, bruv.
What, like your echo chamber? Like
No,
all the others'
I
echo
bring
chambers?
anybody on with their opinions. It
You're
ain't
in
an
an
echo
echo
chamber
chamber
in
now,
my
bruv.
ground.
You're in
Anybody
an
can
Guys.
echo
come in and
chamber
say
now.
what they want. It ain't no agenda
Yeah.
channel with me. Yours
Lewis.
is an echo chamber.
Lewis,
There's
let
no echo
let-
chamber, bruv. I say what I say, and people don't like it. Well, that's their problem,
Exactly,
mate.
an echo
I ain't give a
chamber.
fuck. I ain't give a
Lewis,
fuck.
just
It's not.
like
It's
Johnny,
called
come on.
it's called a
talk, please, please.
platform to learn the minerals,
Yeah,
bruv. Not
exactly. Look,
bullshit agenda.
We listen. Lewis has got his channel. You've got your channel. I've got. We all do and say things that
My channel
whatever.
don't have
Fine, that's
agendas,
our opinion.
bruv. That's the
Fine.
difference.
Anyway,
don't
back
feed
to PS. It
agendas.
says Mount is a Barkley 2.0. Thank you for the donation, but I ignore that because that's not true. Forward, what you saying?
Yeah, it's just funny listening to a lot of the irony that's coming out of people's mouths here. But anyways, I will finish what I'm going to say, which is that with Mason
talking
Mount,
about
like I said,
irony.
he's probably been our best player the last
Easy.
18 months, and I understand why he's got a lot more credit in the back than others, which is why he gets to play through his patches of bad form. He's able to play 90 minutes when he's not playing well, which is fine. I understand it because he is our best attacking player, right? But at the same time, because you're that player, I need to expect more from you in games like this to be able to drag us out the mud.
What did
Against
Potter
Aston
say of
Villa,
Mount?
you did that. You scored that amazing goal. You also scored another good goal as well, and you played very well. Also against AC Milan, you played very well. In the last couple of games, I'm sorry, it's not been good enough. And again, it isn't to put the result on Mason Mount's back because Havertz was also poor, even though we scored. Gallagher, I expect a lot more, even though he was probably the best of a bad bunch. He had some good moments. At the same time, I don't like the chemistry between him and Mount and then the midfield too. I think it just doesn't work. I feel like you need to play a natural three. Who else was up front? Oh, and then there was obviously Pulisic and Sterling on the wings who kind of played as attacking players and were also poor again. So to me, I look at it, and again, I go back to the earlier point which Johnny made that we have elite attackers, we have world-class attackers. I'm sorry, we don't. I've watched Chelsea for 15, 20 years now. I've seen players like Juan Mata in his pomp, Eden Hazard, Didier Drogba. I've even seen Willian had very good seasons, and I've seen him create more by himself than I've seen a lot of these supposedly elite players do. And again, I'm sorry, we just don't have the elite players to make the football that we're trying to play right now.
I'll ask you a question very quickly. I'll ask you a question. Yeah, how many of those players that you've named that are elite have won the Champions League at 21 years old?
That has nothing to do with yesterday's performance.
No, but I'm saying to you, you're saying they're not elite.
Oh my fuck.
You're saying no, but you're saying they're not elite. But how many have delivered like that?
So
how many Chelsea players?
So for me,
how many? Hold on. How many Chelsea players have scored or and assisted in a quarterfinal, semi-final, final Champions League?
That's a beautiful stat you said, man. Beautiful stat.
Yeah,
so listen, right? Stat. So for me, when I judge elite players, for me it's on your consistency because players can look elite in moments, right? Like
so Mason Mount's been our most consistent player.
Let me finish what I'm saying, bro.
So
like you're so sensitive over this topic.
This is what I'm saying. You're
so
calling for all these things
Johnny,
what I want.
Let me answer your question.
What you want, and you still downplay that he's not elite. It's telling me it's just bullshit.
Bro, why are you raising your voice, bro? Just improve your argument, or just don't say anything at all, my guy. Listen, let me just say what I'm saying. He asked the question.
I said, and this is what I'm saying. I've got a
Johnny, you asked the question, so I'm going to answer for the people that are listening, right? Not for you, but for the people that are listening, I'm going to answer your question, right? So for me, I judge elite players based on your consistency, right? Because anybody can look elite in a moment or or even for the Champions League, which again is a great achievement. The Champions League is just a few games where you can turn up and look elite, which is why Jorginho, for me, who is not an elite player, was able to look elite in a competition that suits the way he plays. Fair enough. For me, I judge you being elite over 38 games in a season in the league. And for right now, these attacking players are not elite enough to perform consistently to help us even challenge for a league title, let alone win it, which is why I don't consider any of these attacking players elite. That's a team. So no,
team has
he is not elite compared to the likes of Eden Hazard, Ian Robin, even a Joe Cole.
What did Eden Hazard do under Sarri, bro?
Not even close.
Apart from StatPad, did we win a Premier League title?
Oh,
Were we built for a Premier League title?
The man said Eden Hazard stat padded. Oh, you.
Yeah. Calm yourself, Lewis. I'm saying we had Eden Hazard, elite, elite player.
Wait. Did he actually say that?
Other than stat pads.
He stat padded in that season,
Oh my god!
Well, you say Mason Mount stat pad, so why can't Eden Hazard stat pad?
Because Eden Hazard is one of the best players we've ever seen in the Chelsea shirt.
Did he win the Champions League for us? Has he won the Champions League for us? No.
Oh my fucking
god! Imagine Eden Hazard was English, bro. The prop would be different.
Let me finish my point. You can still listen. Let me finish my point. Yeah. Hush your beaks a second. You can still have an elite player like Eden Hazard, but it doesn't mean you'll win the Premier League. Because the team's not built for the Premier League. That's the same.
He won us the Premier League now. He won us the Premier League.
Yes, but in that season, was that team that we had built for the league?
Not really.
Yes. No, it
wasn't. What are you talking about? What did
Lewis, you go on about how many bums we had around Eden Hazard with Sarri, bruv, and you're telling me
we had loads of bums.
Did we win the league under Sarri?
Under Conte, they were built.
Did we win the league under Sarri?
No, actually, Joe, what? Under Conte, they
weren't built.
So what are you talking about, Sarri?
Because I'm saying we had an elite player. It wasn't still enough to win the Premier League, bruv. The team's not built for the league, is what I'm saying.
Title-winning teams and saying they weren't good enough.
What?
Johnny has IBS with all this shit coming out of his mouth. Please be respectful, mate.
That's my point, bruv. You don't, you say a player's not elite. Does it mean that a player? You can have a player that's elite, not in a team that's winning the league, though, bruv. You can still. Is Haaland not elite, and he's playing for Dortmund for fuck's sake?
You're going to blame him. You can be elite, but the thing is, right? So I agree. No, but Johnny, I agree with you, right?
This is what I'm saying.
No.
Forget it,
no,
bro.
Again, you're right. Why are you rambling, bro? Because I
don't move on.
You can play.
No, we do need to move on because I'm going to go soon.
So as I was going to say, right, you can be elite in a team that doesn't win a league title because you can perform consistently over the season, right? So we saw it with Sarri, right? Hazard, after that was his best individual season. He was elite, consistently performing over 38 league games, which is why he got in the team of the year. He was voted high in Ballon d'Or list and all of that, right? We've not seen Mason Mount or anybody, and again, it's not just a Mason Mount thing, but we've not seen Mason Mount or anybody in this team consistently perform over a long period.
Don't you fucking go there.
We've not seen it.
You go there.
It's a fact. No, it's a fact. It's a fact. Nobody has done that.
Shut up, fact.
Nobody has done that.
Shut up, bruv. What are you
Who has performed consistently over a season?
Nobody's performed consistently over a season for the last 3 years.
You're
deluded, mate.
He's not.
He has not.
Over a season, he's not.
He's been our best player the last 2 seasons, no?
Does that mean he was consistent? This is just the best.
So you get played this season for not being consistent.
And the best player of the last 2 years is Silva and James. It's not Mount.
Listen, this is what I'm seeing here. Look, chose, mate. That's what I'm seeing, bro.
Wait, so Johnny, so the player that got player of the season for Norwich, was he consistent over the season? No, he was just the best of a shit bunch. Same with Mason Mount. He's our shit bunch of attackers, and Mason Mount's the best of them.
Now.
Let's not act like Mason
This is a shit team. This is a shit team. I've said it for time. This is a shit team. It's a fact. This is a shit team.
Don't ever bring me on with this fucking nonsense, bro.
Let's not put down what Mason Mount done in his first 2 years, because with Mason Mount, there were certain games that I remember we ain't winning without him. So let's not act like he hasn't been.
Yeah, I agree. He's a good player, but he's just not elite. Like elite, you have to hold the bar very high, and he's not an elite player, and that's okay.
Yeah, but then what I'm saying,
let's move on, bro.
It's been Silva and James. They have been our most consistent players.
I ain't got time for it. Move on.
Anyway, let's move away from it because we're going to keep going around in circles with Mason Mount. Anyway, Lightbulb says Johnny comparing him with Mason Mount. You've gone in a knighthood right now, is what Lightbulb's saying there. Let's go to let's talk about. I don't want to talk about the wing backs. We spoke about the forwards. Well, we spoke about one main forward. But we lost the game 4-1. And obviously, Graham Potter, and I asked Lewis because I've not asked him this question. It's Graham Potter and his decisions with the lineup. What were your thoughts on the overall team lineup?
If you had the misses, I'd be surfing your misses, mate. I'll tell you that now. I'll tell you that very now, yeah. When you talk about Lewis? Melts and shit. Yeah?
Lewis?
Who's that?
It's
Who's
Lewis.
that directed to?
He's talking to you know who in the chat, but anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
Potter.
Yes, Potter. Talk
I
about
would
Potter.
have
and
wanted
decision-making.
to see Jorginho start, but I get why he didn't. He started the last 3 games. You got to rest. It is what it is. The wing backs, like as I said, I would have liked to see a similar lineup to Salzburg. In hindsight, wasn't the right decision at all. And I think Potter can learn from that at the very least. Like, I'm willing to have Potter make mistakes and learn from them and figure out what his best squad is. Just, we've learnt Sterling and Pulisic don't work as wing-backs together. Don't do it again. The attack,
Okay.
I still don't get why Aubameyang didn't start. That didn't make sense. But it's not like his last game or two justified the start. So I can't say too much about that either. There was just mistakes in there, but it's like we can learn from them and we can move on from it. It's just learn from the mistakes that we made yesterday. I don't want to see the same mistakes.
He needs to show us that, though, doesn't he? That's something he needs to show us, because he made the mistake, obviously yesterday. He made the mistake again, didn't he? In the
he does predict teams wrong.
Yeah,
I've noticed that.
He's got him a cut wrong. It's just about rectifying it and then understanding and moving on and not making that mistake again. You know,
yeah, but
and
his game management is good. He recognizes them early and everything. And I do think people are a bit harsh on Potter. He obviously has to do a complete rebuild. He hasn't even
a
had
little bit. He's only
right?
been here for 5 minutes, Lewis. A little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just my point. Just my point,
bro. Yeah, but I'm saying
you're agreeing on the same thing. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying to you, I think they need to be a little bit easy. It's an understatement. A little bit's an understatement. They're fucking ridiculous to think like that. It's fucking beyond ridiculous. It's not even a little bit. They're too much, bruv. They're too much.
Johnny.
Even CFC Daily, bruv, was fucking retweeting that nonce geezer, retweeting about Tuchel signs and how he's ruined our team for the last 2 years.
You shouldn't
just to back Potter. It's shocking.
Yeah, shouldn't be doing that.
You can't be doing that shit.
No.
That is fucking also Carefree Kev, suck your mum. But yeah, Jeff, big up yourself. Well, what were you gonna say?
So Andrew with the donations, Jem, buy a stiff drink to soothe your headache, mate. I've actually enjoyed it. It was a good debate until obviously we start talking about certain players, and yeah, it got a little bit out of hand.
Elite players.
Elite players.
You fucking know that, mate. Elite, yeah. You know that.
Listen,
you remind yourself he's elite, yeah? Because maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah.
Johan Mount, ask why he's compared to Cruyff, and then you'll understand. But you ain't researched him, bruv. You don't watch him, man.
Wait, you're comparing Mason Mount to Johan Cruyff?
He's been compared, not me. He's been compared to it. Yeah.
I tell you what, Cruyff is doing the Cruyff turn in his grave hearing that.
Well, have you seen the Cruyff turns, the Mount turns to scoring Porto goals and all this stuff? Maybe you don't watch it, bro.
Porto goal. Is there another one?
Oh,
how many fucking turns has he done in this game when he plays?
Turn leading to goal, other than the Porto game. Tell me another one.
Does it matter about that?
Thank you.
What do you mean, thank you? How many goals he scores all different types of goals?
Apparently not with Mason.
You're going to limit to one goal, Lewis, yeah?
I just asked you to tell me when he's done it again. Same thing with Havertz against Newcastle.
Go and watch the goal where we came on for not even 5 minutes, had the ball over the top and outside of the right boot, volleyed it in top bins. Tell me
money. That's what that is. That's money.
You can't even tell me what goal that is because you've never watched him.
Yeah.
Tell me what goal it is.
Yeah.
Tell me who he was playing for when he scored that goal. Lewis, and this forward fella. Tell me what goal that is.
Yeah, I don't watch Mount play enough, you know.
I'll relay it so that you can go and do your research. 4 minutes he comes on, ball over from the right side over the top. He makes that run in outside of the right foot, top bins against the goalkeeper. Scores goal. Volley.
I don't have photogenic memory of every Mason Mount minute like you, bruv.
Because that is a world-class Cruyff goal. That is a world-class Cruyff goal. Go and watch it, Lewis. Tell me what it is next time we meet. Go and tell me what team he was playing for.
How about you just tell me?
We've took an L.
That spoils the fun.
It means that
no one's watching him. I want you to go and watch him. That's what I'm saying.
We took an L.
You have a literal fucking season ticket to his club. What are you talking about, bruv?
Go and watch it, bruv. Go and watch it.
Guys, let's move away from it.
Sorry, Johnny, are you related to Mason Mount by any chance?
Don't give me that waffle, mate.
I'm just asking, like,
related?
Are you a friend?
Like
Do you know him? Are you like?
Do I look like I'm related?
Like an uncle? Like what?
Don't.
I'm just
Anyway,
asking, bro.
Paul
Like,
JR, guys,
so
let's
you're
move
not
on.
alright. Cool.
Paul JR says,
I'm fucking not.
I retain my position since July.
Okay, that's
Sterling
good to
wasn't
know.
worth the price for his reputation, experience, and for us, he ain't been up to the task. Before we finish off, actually, let's quickly talk on Raheem Sterling because he's been poor. I've been saying for a very long time now. Is it due to positioning and where he's being played? Is it just himself and his own performances? We saw at Man United, he was played as one of the three at the front. Off the left, I was there, and you guys were there as well. I mean, he was shocking. I mean, what's going on with Sterling? Is it him? Is it system again? Or is it just that, again, we just don't have enough around him?
He's been poor. Individually, he's not been good enough. That whole game against Brighton, he barely even took a player on successfully. He just fucking
He's our
ran
best
into
player,
them.
Luke, you said.
He's in shit form. And I do think he's...
right, now shit form. Oh, right, okay.
What's going on here?
Well, what's your point?
Well, apparently he's our best player, man.
Oh, just because I said he's a better attacker than Mount, and he is, but we move. But
He's
in
not.
general,
He's not, though. He's not.
That's your opinion, my friend.
He's
That's
actually-
your opinion. And
Sterling.
you're
He's
entitled
actually
to that.
not.
And
Sterling.
you're entitled to that, bro.
Can we see
Raheem-
Sterling? Yeah.
Sterling's been shit. I've been saying he needs to be benched for a while now. Like,
What is it,
he's
though?
not
Well,
What
now we're
is it?
benching our best player.
What is it?
Fucking hell,
Oh
Luke.
yeah. I also want our other best
We're
player,
gonna
Mason
bench our
Mount, to
best
be benched.
players now. Oh, mate, what chance we got? What chance we got for benching our best players, man? Fuck.
I ain't even gonna get a moment to speak. But Sterling's been
Go on,
shit.
go on, just
Bench him,
go,
move on.
just go, go on,
What's
go.
the
Go.
point? He's gonna turn it in some Mount or Havertz bollocks. So I'm done. I said nothing.
Look at
Listen, we're gonna-
look at all these little fucking brown envelope wannabe trolls in here, bruv. Listen, let's have it right. Suck on it, yeah? Suck on it.
Anyway,
You ain't got no fucking minerals, sunshines, yeah? None of you, bruv, got minerals, yeah? You
yeah.
ain't got it. You don't know what minerals is, mate. Even if it looked at you in the
So-
face, which I'm
Yeah.
looking at you right now, you ain't got a fucking Scooby. So when you talk about me, you think very, very carefully what you talk about me and how you talk about our players, yeah? Because I fucking see and hear everything, mate. Yeah.
anyway,
I'm just
JJ
letting you
Bridge with a
lot know.
donation.
I'm just letting you lot know. Let's have it right.
JJ Bridge with a donation. Big up, Jem. To be honest, Forward has rep Mount big time for a min now along YouTube. On other shows like Have Hope. So he's not a Mount hater. So apparently you rep Forward. You rep Mason Mount quite a lot. is
Yeah,
what
because
JJ
I don't like when people say that he offers nothing, he's useless, this, that, the other, because that's wrong. But at the same time, when people are going in the other extreme saying that he's an elite footballer, then I
related
obviously
to
have
him?
to disagree with that,
Are you-
because for
are
me,
you
I like
related
to
to
keep it
Mount?
balanced. And my opinion is that
Are you
Mount is a
related
good
to
player.
Mount? I thought you were related to Mount.
Johnny, how
Maybe you're
rattled
related.
are you, bruv?
I'm
So
not
rattled,
rattled,
even when I'm
bruv.
trying
I'm
to agree
smiling,
with him,
bruv.
he's
I'm smiling.
Wow.
I'm
Well,
not
he
rattled, bruv.
interrupted me to agree on the same point with extra energy.
There's
Let-
no
let-
just
let-
energy,
let-
bruv. I'm
bruv.
chilled, man. Look at me. I'm
You
silly.
are
I'm
not
sitting here
chilled.
chilled,
Go
bruv.
2 minutes without talking, and we'll see if you're chilled.
All right,
What's
go on,
the
let
point
him
in
talk.
having a discussion then?
Anyway,
yeah, as I
Forward,
was
go on.
saying, listen, Mount's a good player, but he's just not elite, bro. Like that's just the
Good.
bottom
Yeah,
line. He's
yeah.
not an
I don't
elite
give a
player.
fuck what you think, mate. You know, you can land your little snidey.
Johnny, that's his
Yeah.
choice. That's his opinion.
But,
Did you hear
That
how
is
rattled he was when he
That's
said
his
that?
opinion.
It's like I attacked him
Jem, who
personally.
is this geezer? Why
He's
am I with
crazy.
this geezer, bruv? Why the
Listen,
fuck am I
Forward's
with this
good.
geezer?
Forward's actually, I like Forward, man. I mean, Forward been going on to cut all these shows. He's you know, listen, you're going to get the ump because of the disagreement with Mount, but just like people are going to disagree, agree to disagree. It happens, man.
God
It
forbid
happens.
they
I'm
along
Mount
the
not
way.
here
anything
to listen.
less than an
I'm not
11
here
out
to
of
listen
10
to
Let's
entertain it.
let's
It's
not
my
have
point.
this.
I'm not here to listen.
Yeah, I
to
know, but come on,
entertain.
we're having a good discussion. and then we
Why
start
are we talking
about
just
players.
about Mason Mount? Why can't we
We're
talk
not.
about the other
Why
players?
are we?
I want to talk about Sterling.
Because you
I said
lot land
Sterling.
fucking stupid points.
We
That's
tried to
why.
talk about Sterling, and then
We're
you
trying to
started
talk about
talking about
Sterling.
Mount.
We
Let's
were
talk
talking
about
about
Sterling.
Sterling. This geezer goes, Mount's not elite. He's just having a dig. He brought it up
Because
again.
the super
That's
chat
his
asked me
fucking
about
fault.
Mason Mount.
The super chat did.
That's
To be
your
fair,
fault,
JJ's
mate.
fault. That's JJ Bridge. But thank you for the donation, bro. Big up. Back quickly, go forward. Sterling, what do we do? What's going
Yeah,
on with
so
him?
funnily enough, again, I kind of predicted that he would have a lot of these troubles once he joined Chelsea. Again, similar to Lewis, like I looked at him and based on what he'd done for Man City for years, and obviously what he'd done for England, which was very impressive, I looked at him and thought, okay, well, this in theory would be our best attacking player once he comes in. But I did obviously think he would struggle, and clearly he's struggling. He should be dropped, of course. And again, I say that with our midfield and with the way the team is set up, we certainly need an elite type of profile to improve this team. So obviously, Jem, we've spoken in the past about having either an elite dribbler who's going to like take on players and attract 2 or 3 players to make things happen, right? Which Sterling isn't. We need either an elite creator, whether that's through their passing to unlock doors, and obviously Sterling isn't that, nor is anybody else in this attack, which is why we struggle. So of course, I'm not surprised that Sterling is struggling.
What I'm saying,
my only hope is that we would see.
Yeah, I can't deal with shit like this. Sorry, mate.
What?
I can't.
What?
To tell me that there's no one in our team that creates.
Whatever.
On a consistent basis.
Nobody is an elite creator in this team. Nobody's on the level of a Brighton or Bernardo Silva.
Number 1 on every stat, and you're telling me he doesn't create.
But is he? Would you say?
Hold on. The season before that, how many assists did he get robbed of just Timo Werner alone?
Let me ask you this: Is Mason Mount's one big ability? Wait a second. Is Mason Mount's one top big ability being a creator, like a Cesc Fabregas type of player? Is that Mason Mount?
He's
not that,
creator,
is he?
Yeah.
His best ability is his work rate.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a creator, not just on the ball, off the ball.
Off the ball creator.
How do you create off the ball?
Yeah. This is where I know you don't know football, mate. This is where I know you don't know football.
So explain it to us, idiots. Please explain it to us. It's so stupid. Please.
You want me to explain to you?
Explain how you
He's going to talk about his movement. He's going to talk about his movement. He's talking about the movement.
You want to talk? You want me to explain off the ball movement? You've played football in it, Lewis.
No, you talked about creating off the ball, not movement off the
How
ball.
you off the ball. See, when you're off the ball and you're a threat, which he is because he's so quick, he occupies pockets, and those pockets open up spaces for his teammates and create chances. I'll give you an example. Against Manchester United at Old Trafford, Mason Mount with Reece James. Mason Mount, the way he occupied the space, created that opportunities for Reece James to get in those positions.
Guys, I wonder why we talk about Mason Mount so much. I
we're
wonder why.
away from Mason Mount again. Yeah, I don't know how we got to Mason Mount.
Anyways, just to finish up my point, listen, with Sterling, like I said, again, I predicted a lot of these things, and my thing with Sterling, right, away from Mason Mount, take a deep breath, Johnny. We're not going to talk about Mason Mount for a second. Take a deep breath.
So the Sterling that we saw with England, off the ball creation, it astounds me, bro.
Here we go again.
You said anyways, chances off the ball, bro.
Another one. Yeah, another one. The West Ham goal.
Johnny. Okay, Johnny, I've let you run, bro. I've let you run, bro. This is where you need to just relax, bro. Take a chill pill. Take a walk outside, touch grass. Just relax, my guy. Relax. Listen, right. So with Sterling,
don't tell
with
me
Sterling, we all watched the Euros.
Yeah, I'm
relax, my guy.
Showing my face. I'm relaxed.
Just mute him, bro.
Relax, my guy.
Let him talk, please.
Don't tell me I'm not relaxed, mate.
We're talking about Sterling.
I've got my juice here, bruv. I'm chilling, mate.
You have a mute.
That sounds beautiful, bro. That sounds beautiful.
Go on,
enjoy your juice, my guy.
Delicious as well, mate.
That's brilliant to hear, bro. So like with Sterling, everybody here watched the Euros, and I think Sterling was clearly England's best player. I think that's not a shot at Mason Mount. Please take that as not a shot at Mason Mount, right? Cool. I was hoping we would see that Sterling in a Chelsea shirt. We've just not seen it yet. Hopefully it turns around for him. But if not, listen, we're going to be suffering a lot because this team is just not forward with, in my opinion, amazing attacking players that's going to carry us up the mud on a consistent basis. They will have their moments where they will have decent weeks of form. Kaiba score 2 and 2. That's great. Can he continue that? Hopefully. I just don't think he will. And I guess we'll see with the rest of these attackers, but it's not looking great at the moment, bro. It's not looking great.
Lovely, positive. Very positive. That is.
Guyan,
I'm just real, bro. I don't sugarcoat anything for anybody.
Be a road runner
there's nothing wrong with being real, but you got to be positive, mate.
Anyway, that super chat, I'm not going to read. I did read it, but I'm not going to read it again because we're going to another 20-minute discussion about player Mason Mount, and I can't be doing that right now. I need to go.
I actually think you'd be good at wing back, but...
Oh God, guys!
Be good at wing back. I can't even know.
Mason Mount again from Paul. So if Mount is brought up in the next 5 minutes, please kick out, please, Jim. We can't dwell on Mount every tune. Thanks for donation. Redneck saying, what happened to Johnny as a child?
Fucking hell, bruv. Look at him, bruv. The minerals are fucking landing, bruv. Let's have it
Redneck,
right.
come on, mate. Let's be respectful in the chat, man, please. Let's not do that. Anyway, I am actually like near the end of this anyway. It's 2 hours this show's been. It's gone like a roller coaster. It went so quick today.
Alex, you write shit like that is exactly why I don't entertain wrong-uns like you. I never entertain a wrong un like you. Ever.
Oh, guys.
Ever.
Anyway, the next game is
Read
what?
it out,
Zagreb?
Jem. Read it out. Let everyone see, bruv. Read it out. Bruv.
No, because it's not. It's inappropriate. I'm not going to start reading inappropriate.
Exactly.
Super
So you're
I'll
spending
feel
money, Alex, out of your pocket to write that shit. Tells me everything about you, mate.
We never go personal.
And
Yeah,
Lewis,
so
you have that
instead,
knobhead on
bruv.
your channel, bruv, and he's writing shit like that.
And you know what? My echo chamber and everything, but he comes on and slanders Jorginho every stream. Ah, what an
I don't
echo
give a
chamber
fuck
my
what he
streams are.
slanders. He gets personal, mate. That's the difference, mate.
No
That's
personal
different.
chat. Like we shouldn't do
That's
We're
that.
got
talking
nothing
about
to do
football.
with me, bruv.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with
Anyway,
me?
guys,
You
we have
these
Zagreb
Muppets
next.
on your
Bro,
thing,
what
didn't
Alex
you?
says to you has
Alright, I'm
nothing
ending
to
it.
do with me, my
I'm going to
friend.
end it now. I'm ending it because we're going to go down a level I don't want to go down. We
I
should all
don't
have respect for
control
each other,
him.
man. Let's not do that, please. Come on, man.
You
we've
control
got-
who you have on, is what I'm saying.
Right, and when he's on my streams, he's respectful to me. So what's the
Oh,
problem?
so he's all right. So it's all right for him to be respectful like that, but when he writes shit like that, it's not. So it's nothing to do
That's
with you
your
now.
problem
Anyway, guys,
with him, not my
I
problem.
will be back
What
for...
do you mean, bruv? Why
You
would
have
I
your
go on with
issue
people
with
like
Alex.
that?
Right, so we do this
Why would I
backstage.
go on
We do
with
this
a
backstage.
tosser like that?
Do
What
it
for?
backstage.
What
Do it
game is that?
backstage. Look, Johnny,
Because,
do it backstage.
because he's
talk
good
with
to
people
me
like
and he's
that,
good
bruv.
for my streams.
Lewis, please stop entertaining it. Just stop for a second.
Have
Zagreb
you been
next.
inappropriately matched? What fucking geezer? You fucking say that
Johnny.
to my face, mate. You fucking come over here, bruv. Fly over from fucking USA, mate. Yeah? And you say that shit.
Guys,
Don't
guys,
you fucking come
guys.
out with stuff
I'll be
like
back
that.
again
We're
for
on a
match
football platform,
preview
you mug.
of Dinamo Zagreb
I
and
understand
Chelsea.
you.
Disgrace,
about
mate.
it, yeah.
Absolute
We've got
disgrace.
Newcastle, we got
I get you
Chelsea,
being pissed.
we got
I get it.
Newcastle, we got
That's a
Arsenal coming up in the
disgrace,
Premier League. We'll be doing that.
I don't agree with
we'll
it,
be
but it's
doing
got
them all
nothing
next
to do with
week
my
as well.
stream. That's all I'm saying.
Take care of yourselves, smash the likes. Hope you enjoyed the show. It's been a crazy one. I'll be back again very soon. Take care. Peace out.
Resign a season.